All right. Okay. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, Mudahar. And this week, Raymond's been cooking. That's right. Sorry, I just had these. So, I start the stream and YouTube creates a duplicate live stream. Frickin' boomer moment, am I right? I guess I'm not so smart. So, that should be fixed. So, hopefully, everyone's in the right chat now. Yeah, for some reason when I hit go live, I had a scheduled stream already. I hit go live and then it starts up another one and it's like, hold up. I don't remember asking you to open. And it did. Let me just double check. I want to make absolutely sure that this is broadcasting properly. You think after all this time I'd learn how to do something like this. Okay, it looks like it's working. All right. It looks like it's working now. Hey guys. Hey, hello, hi. Very, very cool combinations of hello there. Very cool. It's Raymond. That's right. The very same. I have left my shackles at Ubisoft and have become a free, whatever he is, a free armless thing. Master Ubisoft has granted Raymond arms. What? Cool. All right. So I think it's just the one stream now. Fantastic. I look slightly out of focus. No, you do. Shut up. I don't look out of focus. You look like a text. You look the most out of focus ever on my blurry monitor here. Okay, let me see if I can fix that though. You sure? I don't know, man. I think I look pretty good. I think it is you. It is you. Okay, no, I think it's just because my webcam is 720p. That's probably what you're seeing. You're seeing the glorious 720p resolution. That's what you're seeing, which is the best resolution, and I'm tired of pretending it's not the best resolution. Hi, Kogi. I don't know how to. You guys got to pick more legible usernames, please. I can't read these names. Who's Kogi here? I'm not going to bother pronouncing the rest of that. Been watching your VODs, first time made it live. Well, strap yourselves in. You're in for a treat. Hey, Cosmic, good to see you. You appear to be 3 minutes late. Well, I think I appear to be 3 minutes late, more like. I think that's what's going on. Hold on, for some reason it's... Oh, okay, now I've got chat properly now. All right, so let me... I have a few topics to get into today. It's been an interesting week. There isn't a lot to show, but I've been reading a lot of things and learning a lot of things. But I want to start with the video because I haven't talked about that in a little while. So I've kind of been like divvying up my time between some admin stuff, some other stuff that I can't talk about right now, and this devlog about Gabi's model, and look development. And we'll get into look development a bit later. For Gabi's devlog, the voiceover is still very much needs work. It is still like an hour and something long. So if you're wondering why is it taking Ray so long to make just one video? Well, because it's like an hour and 13 minutes. So it's pretty long. So I'm still trying to trim things down. I have gone in and marked and started adding footage to some things though, because making a video like this is really hard, especially just with how technical it is. I keep saying this every week, but it's a hard video. Hopefully it'll make sense why when I get to show the final episode. But what I've gone and done here, this is sort of what I do with my editing a lot. I've gone back to Premiere because DaVinci's cool and it's cheap, but I don't like how it wants me to use it, and it's not my workflow. So I had to make a choice between do I value my time or do I not value my time? And if the choice of not valuing your time is when you deem it worthy to learn an entirely new editing tool, which it was just not worth it. Like, I'd still be stuck on just importing clips and stuff if I'd kept with DaVinci. So anyway, part of my workflow I like to do, and this is a cool thing that using the Adobe, as much as I hate the company Adobe, the software, which is just, cobbled from... Like, this is basically still CS5 underneath all the Creative Cloud crap. You just imagine that stuff's not there. And you still got good old Premiere Pro, just as it's always been. And the thing I like about using Audition and Premiere together is that you can put tags on audio and it shows up in Premiere. So in Audition, I've gone in and added a lot of these markers, they're called. Sorry, not tags, markers. And these markers have ranges on them too, which is pretty handy. And what I've done is I've basically looked at the voice. This is what this green channel here is, by the way. You can't see the waveform with the marker in the way. But if I move the thing here, you can see here that it's like you got the waveform going on. Can I zoom that in maybe? Yes, I can. So there's the voiceover. So I've gone in and added like markers of where I want to put B-roll, because recording this episode it's hard to just listen to. And that's what I've been doing this whole time. Like I tried writing a script. I didn't like the script, so I tried just improvising it. I've trimmed down a lot of the improvisational bits to be more condensed and sensible. But even listening to that still, it's so hard to imagine what I'm actually talking about, even though I'm the guy that did the thing. Like, I did the work, and I know what I'm supposed to be talking about. But even me listening to it, it's like, what am I talking about here? What the hell am I describing? And I get bored. And it's like, well, if I'm getting bored listening to my video, that's bad. So what I have done just to try and push things along is to start adding the B-roll in, even though the voiceover isn't finished and there's a lot I need to cut out still, at least giving me an idea of like, okay, what am I actually going to show? Because I think the visuals carry a lot of this. And just the audio alone doesn't quite do it justice. So to know what to put where, I've added these markers. So you can see them named, called Base Rig, Guilty Gear, Model, Presentation, Gabi Mark II, Posing. And what this means, because you'll see a lot of notes like this of like Gabi Mark II or Gabi Mark III. Gabi Mark II was her previous model. I've kind of named them like Iron Man suits, I guess. Gabi Mark I think I've got footage of that in here somewhere. And yeah, here's some of the visuals, by the way, that I'm going to be showing. And I've trimmed some of these out from the Arc System Works presentations, just for examples. But I'm going to have a lot of my own stuff here too. But if I go and yeah, because the amount of footage to organize has been quite overwhelming too. So I think it's in, yes, footage. This is probably the biggest folder in the entire thing. So if I go, I think it's Feline, Gabi, and then there'll be 3 folders inside here. If it opens. Come on. Oh. My Twitch window just crashed. Oh, lovely. That's great. Uh-oh, everything's crashing now. No! Ah. Okay, let's get Premiere back. There we go. Cool. Okay, for some reason my YouTube chat is now gone. That's great. Hold on, can I open it again? Oh, you gotta be kidding me right now. Chat's gone. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Well, I'll get you guys back in just a second, but I was gonna show you this. Because there's so much footage it's loading in, it's crashing everything now. So I might as well just show you this and then reopen it. So I've got these folders for Mark 1. I don't know if you guys remember Mark 1. That was like done within the first like couple weeks of the project, I think. I don't know if it's gonna... That's the thing with Premiere that I don't like over DaVinci, where it's like, Premiere's familiar, and I understand, I like how Premiere operates. I like that you can customize the UI, I like that it uses layers and not nodes, but loading footage is so slow, that's really annoying. Yeah, here we go. So we got some of, oh my goodness, I haven't seen these clips in a long time. How many of you guys remember these? I don't know if you could see it up in my little preview here. Oh, it's crashing again, guys. Watch out. Oh. See, this is... Okay, maybe I gotta be more careful when having an hour-long video open and hundreds of hours of footage open and Chrome open all at the same time. Maybe this wasn't the best thing to start the stream off with, because everything's literally just crashing now. So that's one thing I'll give DaVinci, is that the interface is less demanding, but I couldn't get into the workflow. I had to learn a completely new way. I had to relearn editing, and it's like, I'm not going to relearn editing just to make one video and save like a few $100s. Like, I should probably just make more money. So guys, link down in description. Check out the Project Feline merch so I can keep using my workflow in Adobe. But yeah, you see some of these footage. I don't know if I can. Is there a short clip I can open? This is like her devlog episode 1 concept art. I haven't looked at this in a long time. Oh yeah, now it's gonna. Yeah, maybe it's not worth going and opening all this up. Yeah, this is the classic Premiere screen, media pending. Now, hopefully Streamlabs hasn't crashed. I think Streamlabs is still good. But there is more, because that is just... Mark II is the more sophisticated model I made for like devlog 12 through devlog 17, I think. That was the first real attempt. The Mark I, I don't know if it's gonna... Yeah, it's so slow today, Jesus. But Mark I, to summarize my point, Mark I was like the super blocky version from the very first public prototype, where she had the drawn-on smiley face. That's the one I'm trying to show, but because I've got too many things open, it's gonna crash. Mark II was the better one. You know what? I might as well just close Premiere and just show you guys the videos on YouTube, and honestly, because it's just... because, I mean, some of you guys have maybe never seen... Maybe you've never seen these ones. So, I'm gonna exit out of... you know, should I just reopen Premiere? No, I can click my way out of this. Oh, come on, Premiere. Come on. Come on. This is why I would like to preferably use Adobe Premiere CS3 or something, or whatever, and not the latest Creative Cloud version, because they get progressively more bloated. But that's the thing, is that underneath the filth, the program is good. It's just there's all this junk bloat on it now that slows everything down for no reason. So I'm just gonna close all that. Because if I have, it's because I have that specific project file open, which is like the footage bin, which has got terabytes and terabytes of footage in it, and I think that's why it's lagging out. Let me just find my YouTube chat again, because my other window, yeah, that's my other window. It's literally not even rendering the address bar anymore. It's all gone. Come on. Can I move you? Yeah, there we go. Let's move you over there. Where's chat? Oh, this isn't... No, I want the dashboard. Get me the dashboard. I need the dashboard. That's it. No, not that one. There's like two... There's the live stream dashboard and the normal dashboard. I want the live stream dashboard. That's... Okay, now I've got you guys back. So I'll move you guys down there. Is Premiere... I think Premiere is responding now. Yes, sorry for the... God, it's been a technical... It's really a technical marvel that any of this works, really. But my goodness, it could be better. And I like to pop you guys out, and I like to put you here. That's what I want. Okay, now I'm gonna show... Let's just show it on video, what I was gonna show you. Yeah, I gotta download more RAM. That's what I gotta do. Man, I missed that website. I haven't visited there in a long time. But yeah, so to do the proper version of this segment I was trying to do, Gabi Mark 1 was this. Gabi Mark 2 was... I'll skip ahead to like a video where I've got the model in there. This was Gabi Mark 1. You guys remember? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, for some reason, YouTube chat is still down. I don't know why. I can't see anyone. Sorry. So I'm just going to keep going. If you guys are saying stuff, I'm sorry I can't see it yet. For some reason, everything's just breaking. Twitch chat seems to be working, though. But YouTube chat is just gone, straight up. I don't know. Okay, this is definitely beyond Premiere being at fault. Something weird has gone on here. Live chat unavailable. That's brilliant. I would ask if it's broken for you, but you guys can't speak to me. So I guess we will never know. Maybe... Oh, please tell me Streamlabs is still working. Okay, I think Streamlabs is still working. Not how I thought the stream was gonna go. Yeah, Remulex, that's right. Back before she had outlines. Oh, I think I figured out what's wrong with YouTube. For some reason, it doesn't think I'm live right now. It thinks I'm... Oh, no. Did the YouTube stream just kill itself? Did we just get... Oh, no. It's falling apart by the second. I gotta copy the URL manually into the dashboard. Is this really what it's gonna make me do right now? Oops, something went wrong. That's right, YouTube. Something did went wrong. I'm gonna have to freaking copy the URL somehow. Oh my god, this is annoying. I just want the live stream dashboard. Is it... Because when I go there, it shows me this thing for a new stream, and it's like, you know... No, I don't want that. I just want... Just get me the stream I had. It's taking me to this new private stream where no one's on. And it's like, no, I just want the stream I just had. Do I have to open my freaking YouTube history to... I gotta go to the history tab. Okay. Thanks Chrome Web History, it saved me. I opened the exact right tab that had it. Gah! Oh, okay. Well, we're so back. We're so back, guys. Sorry about the difficulties. Thanks, Nabil, for gifting. I'm sorry I didn't see your message there. YouTube was just messing around. All right, let's Can I just minimize everything and bring it back one at a time? All right. Thanks, Premiere, for cooperating. Okay. All right. I think we're good. I think we're back. Thanks, Nutbill, so much. Why didn't I get notified? Now my audio's not working either. I was meant to get a pop-up notify for that, but it didn't. Let me just double-check my levels. Okay. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's falling up. No, I don't want to exit while live. No. God damn it. Why does my computer hate me today? What's going on? Okay. So the stream's still live, right? You guys can still hear me, right? Okay. Back from the Shadow Realm. Okay, I don't know if it blacked out for you guys or whatever, but my literal chat was completely... The window was black. There was no taskbar, no minimize icon, no nothing. It was gone. So hopefully it's good. The Twitch one's working? That's great. Have I ever considered making the devlog multi-seasonal? What does that mean? What's multi-seasonal? Can you explain, Cosmic, what you meant by that? It was running the whole time? Oh, lovely. Well, yeah, sorry to put you guys through hell there. But anyway, as I was saying, this Mark 1, this is how it was. And this was ages ago, back when I didn't know how to do 3D modeling. Mark 2 was this. This was Mark 2. And her current model is what I was trying to get to. The current one I had done that was actually good, that's Mark 3. So we've come a long way, haven't we? So the reason why this is challenging is that what I'm basically trying to do here is, if I scroll down, I'm basically, because the first time I did this, it took up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos, and I'm basically just trying to do it in 2 videos instead. Because when I look at this did not need to be 8 videos. This could have been 2 videos. And I'm going for a bit of a different goal this time. So because this was sort of, I didn't really have a goal for these videos besides just, this is how I made the thing. But I mean, there's so many of these sorts of videos now. Like these were probably, actually, damn, how the hell does this have 800,000 views? That's crazy. But I reckon a lot of the watches from this, or the appeal of this, was because there weren't a lot of tutorials at the time about this sort of thing. But now anyone can make tutorials on this, and it's kind of oversaturated with bad tutorials everywhere. And my goal instead is to not be a tutorial, because there's not, I don't know, I've kind of like lost faith in the idea of online tutorials, because I've seen so many bad ones, and I don't think, I don't know, there's better ways to learn things than watching YouTube videos. But what my goal is now for this video, it's more of a story rather than a step-by-step. So it's just me explaining like the experience of like what I had to learn to do it. I guess it's really in essence more of a devlog. Whereas I felt some of the videos from the first character arc were more like tutorials, especially the ILM map one, which was the most waste of time video I ever did. Like this, I didn't need to make this. I don't know why I did that. But, you know, like you don't need this is simple. Like you don't need a tutorial on how to do that. So I'm kind of trying for the sake of, so that I can spend more time working on the game, to not have to make 5 videos and just do 1 or 2. So the goal is I'm going to have this first video that's really more about the modeling, and then I'll have a second one about the animations, because that's the one I'm really looking forward to, because that's really exciting, and there's a lot of cool stuff I want to talk about for the animations, but you have to go through this first to understand sort of the story of like how you get to the point where you can make cool animations in the first place. So it's more of a journey than a tutorial. It's more of a devlog in every sense of the word. Cosmic says certain documentary style YouTube productions that are divided into seasons. Interesting. Well, let me just finish reading it. So anything from pre-alpha era of development to the upcoming redesign of Gabi could be considered season 1. Plus, it'd be even easy to keep track of amidst the never-ending number of devlogs. I don't really know how to do that with YouTube. Like, I don't want to flood my YouTube titles with Project Feline Season 1 whatever, because from my years on the platform, nobody cares. Like, you need to have... the titles have to be uncluttered. So you'll probably notice with my earlier videos that I used to over jam the title with buzzwords like indie game devlog as like separate words. But now I just put Project Feline Devlog. I kind of am debating to just cut that from the titles too and just call the video titles the titles. So for instance, this video is going to be like, the thumbnail is going to be a picture of Gabi. Actually, I should show you that. I've been working on a thumbnail already for it, which I could maybe show. It's not finished. It's pretty bad, but it's something that I've been cooking up. But the general idea is I'm going to have the thumbnail of Gabi, and then the title is going to be, "This is not a drawing." And that's just going to be it. And then I have the actual playlist itself called Feline Devlog that actually has the videos in it. But I guess in my own head, to answer that question though, in my own head, I kind of do see it as seasons, but where you draw the line is kind of hard to know in advance, which if you're doing TV productions, you would already know in advance when the season ends. Whereas for me, I don't know. It's kind of like after the fact, I go, oh, okay, that felt like a season, and this feels like one. So at the moment, I feel like I'm in the season of like a reawakening, where I'm kind of rebooting development the right way. And the season finale of the last season felt like when we had the contractor on and the game ran at 12 FPS. That for me felt like the turn of a season. And that's why I'm really hyped and excited, because there's so much stuff I haven't even had time to make the videos about that I've done since then that you guys don't know. Or maybe some of you might know if you've been watching the streams, but there's a lot I haven't shown, just in terms of like research, look development, and craftsmanship. Not necessarily game content, but the stuff I'm thinking about now is the stuff that you would need to know to make good game content in the first place. But, well, that's sort of another branch of topics that I won't get into today. But I was going to show you the thumbnail. I'm just trying to find the... where I've put the thumbnail source files. Thumbnail. There we go. Oh, that's for a different video. Hold on. I'm just trying to get Photoshop here. Okay, found it. So this is the current work in progress thumbnail for what this episode will be. Again, I'm not too happy. The general idea, yes, but I don't like the color choice yet. Too long title, like weekly progress check-in plus game dev chat. Yeah. Well, that's true, but that's the title I pick for Twitch, and it just puts it on YouTube. And now with Twitch, it's different because, I don't know, just from what I've seen of bigger streamers, they have tags and like the meta for Twitch is different. So it's, I don't know, like because I don't watch Twitch that much. I just look at the front page for a second and go, oh, all of the ones that are being promoted all have the chat commands in the title and something, I don't know. So that's, I don't know. I probably need to come up with something better though. It is pretty long. But yeah, so this is the current kind of, anyway, this is sort of the current draft for the thumbnail. A lot of the trick with a good thumbnail, I think I have gotten a lot better at it over the years in terms of clarity. I used to just chuck on a bunch of LUTs and overlays and think, oh, this is bright and saturated. This is good. And no, it's not. You need to do more than just up the saturation by 100 to make it good. So I've had a much easier time drafting thumbnails. And I think a lot of this had to do with when I made Gabi's model, I kind of learnt how to develop an eye. So if you look at a lot of my older thumbnails, they're a lot paler. And because I didn't know how to use color properly. And I know this seems like a bit of an obscure topic, but this is like one of the many things I've come to learn just on the journey, on the ride, that has applications to everything, not just like I learned this through YouTube, but this could be applied to game development and Steam branding and stuff too. Thanks so much, Nabil, for gifting one membership to, it doesn't say to who. Oh, to Quantum Infinity. Thank you so much, man. You're a legend. I gotta up my desktop volume. That's why I couldn't hear anything. Thank you so much. Greetings from Luxembourg. Oh, cool. Luxembourg, that's in Germany, I think. Germany's pretty cool, not gonna lie. I don't know, it's in Europe somewhere, right? Or it's in Sweden, I can't remember. Oh, is Luxembourg its own country, is it? I don't know. See, look, don't laugh, guys. I know the Skyrim map better than my neighborhood, okay? Luxembourg, though, that's cool. Europe's pretty cool. I didn't know I had fans in Europe. That's awesome. Anyway, what was I? Sorry, I'm just so scatterbrained today. It's a country between Germany, France, and Belgium. Okay, right, cool. See, I was close. I was like Germany. It feels like a German word. I don't know. It has a certain German sound to it, but thank you, man. I appreciate it. Anyway, as I was saying, back on topic here. You'll notice with my older thumbnails, they look very washed out, desaturated, and not that clickable. So in a way, it's kind of a miracle that people watched these videos because the thumbnails are unappealing. And I'm not, it is. Like, I'm not trying to just be self-deprecating. These are pretty bad. There's no clear focal point. The color is weak. You'll also notice that Gabi's hair in general is just desaturated as hell. Whereas if you compare it with her current model, because I remember during the making of her model, I redid the color scheme to be proper so that her hair doesn't get washed out on YouTube thumbnails anymore. And it's a nice, healthy shade of pink and not some malnourished shade or something like that. So you'll notice gradually you'll start to see this transition sometime in 2022 or 2023 where I start actually applying colors properly. It was like right about here. I then, like, after the Screen Australia happened, I don't know, some fire ignited in my soul and I suddenly became good at making thumbnails where I was starting to use more warmer hues, better use of highlights, better use of focus, and like even when using cooler shades, it's more colorful. Like it's not like fake saturated though, it's thoughtful. Whereas here I've got saturation filters on, but it still looks pale and bad. But up here it's better. So anyway, none of you probably asked to hear about that, but I think it's interesting. So part of the challenge with making thumbnails is having an eye for that stuff, which when you have an eye for it, it's easier to just not make those mistakes, which is helpful. But the thing I don't like about this so far is that I know that the text is not very readable. And that's the tricky part, is figuring out what color to make the background and the text and everything. So typically I like play around with different outline colors, different like this or something. I'll like try this out and go, how does this look? Or, you know, I'll try a white background or whatever. And it's the challenge is making it not dominate the thumbnail, but also you know, making it readable. Because I think with the thing I don't like about like the white and whatever, like this color, is that yes, it's easier on the eyes to not be black and yellow instead. But if you zoom out, it's still kind of, there isn't a clear focus. Like my eye is being, because there's so much white on the outside. But if I change this to yellow, I don't know, it still has that problem where the text, you know, it doesn't, it isn't sitting right in terms of its color and everything. Like, I don't know what exact color to make it the way I want, but I know that this isn't what I want, where you have to be able to zoom out at it, look at it, and the text should be so clear to read. And you don't want to do that by just adding too much outlines or whatever. You got to be kind of careful with it. So anyway, that's the kind of thing you have to think about when making thumbnails, which I don't think most people would think. Most people think, oh, I'll just get ChatGPT to create me a cool picture or whatever the hell people do nowadays. But no, it's an art form. It's sort of like designing the box art for the video. That's kind of how I see it, is that imagine if this was a DVD cover, and how do I make it so cool that people grab it from the shelf? Except it's horizontal instead of vertical. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, but if I was to try with like white and drop shadow instead, I mean, this is a bit better because there's contrast. That's the word I'm looking for. It's contrast around the text. But it's still, I don't know, man. Like, it's still not, it's busy. Visually, it's still kind of busy around there. So the solution, you know, maybe I need a different pose of Gabi. Maybe that would work better or something. You know, there's a few things I still want to try with this thumbnail before I call it finished. But, I try to keep things aligned on a grid as well, by the way. So I have these overlays for like rules of thirds, and I try to divide up I try to have a grid overlay turned on where I divide it up into quadrants and align things like that, because it's just easier to make choices. But, you know, it takes a bit of playing around to figure out what will look good. And I know this might seem like big deal. It's just the thumbnail. It's not the video. But the thumbnail is kind of more important than the video a lot of the time. Because if you make the best video ever, if you spend 100 hours on a video and you have a bad thumbnail, then you've wasted 100 hours because no one's going to watch it. So that's why I take this pretty seriously, is that it has to be so good to justify all this work I'm putting into the video. And it has to come through in one image. That's sort of the attitude of making a good thumbnail. So I don't know, like at the moment I'm just using her nice fancy render. And I think the concept is cool because it looks kind of shocking, because you look at this thing and it's like, oh yeah, that's a drawing, and then it has the 3D arrow pointing to it. But I think I could do better though. Like something about it is like not making me hyped, and I still haven't quite figured it out yet. But back to the video for a moment, because I'll show you more of what's been going on there. So in terms of, I've kind of just been on and off trying to tweak the thumbnail. But the thing I've been like most focused on is editing B-roll in as supplementary stuff to demonstrate my points in the video itself. Just Hire More Devs has a great thumbnail. Thank you. Yeah, that was one of my favorites to do. Actually, maybe I should open that real quick while we're on the topic. I've got time. I'll go back and show you that one, because there was something about that thumbnail that was really, I don't know how to, I don't even know. It's like I accidentally made it pretty good. But it was the right level of contrast, the right level of I don't know. I don't know even. It was just good. I'm just trying to find the source file so I can show you layer by layer. I found another thumbnail as well that I'll open too, which was also, I think, a contender that I didn't end up using for something else. Because, yeah, like I said, well, I already said, yeah, the thumbnail is sort of like 80% of the work is the thumbnail. That's sort of like what we were talking about last week with the 80-20 rule, where it's like 80% of the work, 20% of the work is responsible for like 80% of the result. And the thumbnail, you'd want it to take less time to make than the video. But if you don't do it well, it's, a good thumbnail is 20% of the work, but it's responsible for 80% of the result, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so the higher and more devs thumbnail, this was fun because there was something about the exact combination of contrast and color that I think I got right. So part of the trick there was having that fire gradient over the blueprints. So if we take this stuff off, for instance, I've got like a picture of blueprints. I've got some adjustment layers on it to make it pop. So I've got like a fade with fire, and then I've got layers to kind of, because if you don't have the layers on the levels, the blueprints kind of just, I know this is going to destroy your eyes, but just bear with me, because most people, and I know this sounds crazy, but most people use YouTube on light mode. I know, crazy. The average normie uses light mode. So I try to make the background white and imagine how this would look on the homepage. And you can't make out any of the blueprints. But if you turn on this adjustment layer, now you can start to make them out, because I've just brightened them more and they stand out more. And then I've got a few different renders of Gabi's face, like this. And to make Gabi stand out, I've got some layers on her as well. I've got just an outer glow. And I've noticed that a lot of 2000s anime covers will use an outer glow on their character renders. You see this with Bakugan and Pokemon a lot. They'll have this outer glow on the character render. And then I have the text, and that was pretty simple. And then I've got just another layer of adjustments over the top, which just kind of adds contrast and saturation so that it pops out more on a light background. And that's it, really. This was probably the most fun to make. And the cool thing that made it very fast was that because I had Gabi's model, it was really, like, to make expressions was really quick. So the way I actually did this was I posed her actual model's face. I think I had a few different... this was from an older thumbnail. I tried using this render, but you can tell that it's not really amazing. So I remade like a shocked expression in Blender, and then I drew over the top of it in Clip Studio to kind of rough out the shading artifacts. Because, yeah, you have, with the model, because of the light angle and when you deform the mesh and whatever, you'll get these little artifacts on it, and things like that, and you'll see the spacula is going over the shadow here. Small things, but if you really want that extra oomph, I just draw over it. I traced over the model to get rid of those sorts of weird artifacts, and I think it looks, I mean, I probably am not the best judge of my own thing, but I think it looks good. And then, yeah, you get the background going, and then you've got a thumbnail. So the challenge now is making this on that level, where it's got the right, your eyes getting drawn to the right thing in the right order. That's the thing. Whereas here, I don't feel like I've nailed it yet. I haven't nailed it yet of my eye being caught to one thing and then moving through the thumbnail. That's a key thing of a good thumbnail. Now, for another example, here is an unused thumbnail that I had made that I didn't end up using. This was for the Sincerity is Cool video. This was for designing characters with soul. This was for that video, which I ended up using fan artwork for that one because it was a really well done piece, and it had all the characters in it, and the video was about all the characters. But one of the contenders was using an old 2009 sketch of Gabi and then a rough render of her model. But I don't know, I just didn't vibe it. I tried compensating with the gradient on the text to make it look fancier, but I don't know, man, it just didn't land. I still don't know why, but I know that it just didn't, I don't know. It just didn't feel powerful enough. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. 16 times the detail. Yeah. Speaking of having eyes drawn towards the right thing, perhaps the arrow towards the face? Oh, maybe, yeah. Oh, let's try move. I'd have to move the text as well, though. I think the reason I remember now. I think the reason why I put the reason why I put the text here was because when you have the grid overlay on, let me turn that on for a moment. So yeah, it keeps resetting every time I open it, but you have to every %. You make it this and then give it 4 subdivisions and then go show grid wherever it is. Where is it? Oh, view, show, grid. And I think, yeah, so what I try to do with, I didn't used to do this, and I should have, but using a grid alignment instead of just placing it randomly, it gives you a much better, what would you say? It gives you less decision fatigue on where to place things. So I try to keep things placed along a grid of some kind. Now, the only gripe I would have with putting it near the face is that now it's in the middle of the thumbnail. And it looks, I don't know how I feel about the text being in the middle. I would like for Gabi to be in the middle, not the text. So I'm going to change this to just white for a second. You know, we're doing live thumbnail editing. We're just going to play around. We'll just give it a quick go. Because I think what I would prefer is something more like moving. Can I like just move all of this? Like moving all of this here or something. I don't know, because like there's just something about having the text in the middle that doesn't feel, it feels off balance. I can't put my finger on what it is. Maybe something like this, but then if it's zoomed in too much, you can't really see her full body. But at the same time, should you see the full body or not is the question. I don't know, maybe you could do something like this. Maybe like that. I don't know, just an idea. But I mean, I'll fiddle around more with it in my own time because it takes just, I have to like be focused and in the zone. But back to the video for a moment. So as for what the video is going to actually be about, so I've just been editing in B-roll and things like that. So weirdly, what's really cool about this video is that because it's my second attempt on the model, I can make connections to the first video and go, this is what I did last time, and this is why it's bad. So I can actually reuse a lot of old footage from there. So you can see that I'm using the same B-roll as, you know, devlog 13 and the same footage because it's like I'm talking about, you know, with her previous model, I did it this way. And then I learned how to do it the right way. And then I show some of the Arc System Works slides on how they model stuff. And I've done some basic animations on these to just show the procedure and how they do stuff. And I think when I edited it in the visuals, it started to make sense and I became less bored by the video. So as I was saying earlier, doing it all with just voiceover, it was just painful. I was getting bored of it. But now I'm starting to see more clearly where the video is going to end up now that I actually have the visuals to show. So in this part, for instance, I'm talking about, you know, where I got wrong. Because I think that is the most interesting part beyond the techniques is how wrong I got it the first time. And it's not because it's funny or something. It's not like, haha, you got it wrong. It's more as if like, oh my goodness, like I knew so little. And there's just an amazing, like, I don't know, like you see the old model in a completely new light. And that's important. That's the essence of what I'm trying to get at with this video. It's not to teach, because I think the best way to teach is to just do it and to not waste time watching YouTube videos. But the But that's not why most people are on YouTube, I think. People want to be entertained. And I think my goal here is to, like, entertain you with how different you can see things. That's kind of, it's the wonder of, like, you thought this was good, but wait until you learn this, and you've become aware of these rules, and then your own perception starts changing. And that's what I want to happen over the course of this hour-long video, is that gradually your perception of what is a good model starts to change, and you realize, oh my god, how did he get away with this old version? This was so bad. That's crazy. That's what I want, because that's what it felt like for me, and I'm trying to kind of distill that experience into a video of, like, how the hell did I accept this before? This is crazy. It's raising, like, your own standards in a way. So then, as I go on and talking about the subjects, I start using, you know, bits from the Arc System slideshow to demonstrate certain concepts that were very important. And the thing that's tricky is that these presentations are long, and there's a lot of them, right? We were talking on stream a few weeks ago. These are like 50 slides each. And what I've tried to do is take the essentials as they become relevant and just use, instead of having to, like, explain what they explain in their presentation. Because if you really want to know, you can just look up the presentation. But what I'm trying to communicate is just the general principle. And, like, here with these pictures, you can kind of understand. I don't even have the audio on, and I think you guys get what the point of this is, right? This is bone placement, right? And they have a lot of technical things about why, but I think all you really need to be shown is this for you to understand, I think. I think when you get it shown like this, because the thing about the slideshow is that they can't animate it like this in the slideshow. These are all put into their own images. And a lot of the work I've been doing this week has been basically scanning these into images to then use in Premiere, because these are all PDF files, and Adobe Premiere can't read PDF files. So I had to convert all of this into, each slide I turned into an image, and then I went even further and converted each image in the slideshow into an image on its own. So I could extract all the images out and animate things like this, where I've got the arm morphing into the new arm type stuff. And this is something that, because the thing I like about this is that, again, my goal is not to, I don't want to plagiarize this thing, because it wouldn't be a good use of my time. It already exists. But what I want to do is show how I applied it. That's kind of the point. And what I can do that is sort of more transformative beyond what the presentation can do is being able to show it in a video like this and animate it like this, which you can't get from the original. But the original has more written information. So in a way, it's become like its own thing, where I'm using some materials here to communicate the ideas a bit differently. And it's not necessarily a replacement for it, but it's like a simplified, watered down version that's in the context of the story. And then I have some of my own footage spliced in. And here's some back B-roll footage of me doing the low poly rig. Some of you might remember these early screenshots of the model, and I've got these sort of shown animated in, and, like, you know, this sort of stuff. So this is the kind of stuff I've just been sort of putting together, and I definitely feel a lot more hyped for the video now that I can actually see what I'm talking about instead of having to imagine it. But there's a lot of missing gaps, as you can probably see, and that's missing B-roll I have to fill in still. And there's other areas of the video that have no markers on them, like this. And these are the areas that are the most challenging. This has no marker on it. And this is the fluff I'm trying to trim out of the video. And there's quite a bit of it. There's a whole 12 minutes of it at the beginning where I don't really have any markers. The reason for that is because I record... The intro for a video is very important. And usually I do a very bad job at the intro, because when I start recording, I'm not in the mood and I'm not in the energy for it. And then then what I go and do is I go and do the rest of the video, and then I go back and then do the intro last once I know what is going to be there for the audience for the rest of it. So that's why I've kind of left this just empty and just full, because I'll probably revisit it at the end to do the intro. But I know that after this point, it starts getting into the meat of it. And then there's these bits in the middle, like here, which I think is to do with, I think it's just rambling about topology. And there's little bits I want to keep in, but I really need to go in and listen to it and then re-record. And then there's some bits of this as well in the face chapter where I talk about facial topology. And you can see that I talk for like 20 minutes. Like this little, that's kind of how crazy this is, right? From here to here, because I'm here working on this and I'm like, why is everything taking so long? But this little clip of the video, because here's the entire timeline. This little highlighted bit, just this little bit is 20 minutes, which is like longer than most of my videos. So it's like, oh, that's why this feels like it's taking forever, because there's literally this little segment that I want to trim out. Just the segment is 20 minutes long, and it just takes time to listen to and to think about and to condense. So a lot of the work, because I know someone on stream might have been a few weeks ago, said, why don't you just ramble for an hour? And the reason I don't tend to do that for my main videos is because it's low quality. Streams are a bit different because people don't expect a high quality bar for live streams. But for a video that I want to be seen by 100,000 people, which is not a live stream, it has to be to a higher standard. So I try to, you know that saying where it's like, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. That's kind of the attitude I take with my main videos, is that I do put in maybe more time than I should sometimes, but I put in that time so that the video is it's like lean, you know? Like there's no fat in it that's useless. It's like every sentence is deliberate and is not wasting your time. But for me to not waste your time, I have to put in my time. That's kind of the equivalent exchange there. So, and I know for this video, this is an important, very important video, so I want to make sure I do it justice. I have loosened my standards a little so that it doesn't go overboard. So a lot of the recording feels more casual, but it's to the level where it's getting the idea across well enough. And then I've got some more time lapse here of the hair and then the armor. The tricky part was this, and this will be the last bit that I'll go for this video. But the tricky part was there's a really cool bit of B-roll that I don't think I've shown anybody. And this was I think I started compiling this in yesterday. Because while I was making the model, I got this time-lapse plugin for Blender. And it didn't quite work fully, but I was able to get some clips from it and set up some cameras. So while I was making the whole model, I actually had this turntable camera going the whole time, showing as I was modeling. But it wasn't like a desktop view where I was like zooming in everywhere. It was just showing the model in its entirety as I was working on pieces of it. So I've got this little clip I've taken here of when I was doing her armor. And there's me editing all the vertices and all that stuff. And then there's me editing the UV maps. The actual clip itself, it is a bit hard to follow because the camera keeps turning. But I do have some other versions from different camera angles. But it was really interesting because I hadn't actually seen the whole time lapse until now. Because I just left it running while I was modeling. And I hadn't actually watched through much of it at all. So if I zoom out a bit, this is the full clip, and the time lapse is 20 minutes, and it's like super sped up, so it's pretty long. But as you can see, there's me going from like I think I start it when I still had the low poly version, and I start adding in detail. I do the fingers. So while I was doing those live streams, this was recording. So a lot of this stuff I did live, but this is how it looks from like a more detached camera perspective. And there's me doing the hair. And then I think it gets more interesting around here where I start. You can actually see the texture. You can see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can see like her armor detail coming in. Well, I thought, oh man, that's a cool bit. I got to put that in. There's a lot of stuff that isn't that interesting about it though. So the main challenge has been trimming out the right parts of the time lapse. And you can see here, it's all done in the face. It's all in the facial rig. I think somewhere in here, I redid the face. Yeah, around here I started remodeling the face. I started redoing yeah, so there's a lot, and it's like a 20-minute long time lapse. It's insane. And there's me rigging the hair, trying out poses. So the main challenge here was because the time-lapse tool was a little broken, because the way it does this is that it takes a JPEG snapshot of the viewport every so often. It doesn't actually export it as a video. And for whatever reason, because Premiere can import image sequences as a video, and for whatever reason it wasn't working because it had skipped over some numbers, because it's a sequence where it's like frame 1 is 0, and then 1.jpg, 2.jpg, 3.jpg, and then it goes to like 11,000. It just saves the frames as images. But some numbers had been skipped for some reason, so I had to go and rename them in order so that it wasn't skipping any of the numbers, so that the full time-lapse would import. So that was a bit of tinkering, but anyway. That's sort of in terms of the video progress. That's kind of all I wanted to show. But I have been cooking on it. Okay, it's going to be really good when it's finished, and I'm working as hard as I can on it. It's such a dense video, but it's like a gourmet meal. You know, you're going to take a bite out of this video, and you're going to be so satiated. It's just going to, you know, it's coming along though. It's just I got to trim the fat a bit, and then add the B-roll. And I don't know. Hopefully by next week I'll know what bits of fat I want to trim, and I'll have like more of the editing further along. But anyway, now I get to show more cool stuff from the game, because that's kind of all I wanted to show with the video. I'll read chat while I open Unreal. Have you thought about hiring an assistant editor? No, not really. I don't know. Because I don't know any editors. Like, I'm the only person I know that knows how to edit. And just from experience, finding a quality editor is not as simple as just going on Fiverr.com. Like, most of them are garbage. Because if they were that good, they would be making their own videos. They wouldn't be hiring themselves out for like $10 or whatever. So it's, no. And I don't even know how to tell someone how to edit like this. Because there's a certain way I like doing it. And if I try to have someone else, it's the mythical man month problem that we had when I tried to hire the environment artist, is that the ramp up time it would take for that second person to be useful is too long. Because I'd basically have to train someone on like, this is how I like to organize footage. This is how I like to edit cuts. This is how I like my levels set. It's more than just dragging in clips. Like that's what people think editing is, where it's like, oh, I just drag in a clip and I drag in a voiceover and that's it. And it's like, well, no, you have to be more thoughtful about what are you showing when. Is it like I can't even explain it, because I don't even know how to explain it. I just know it. I have no idea how to communicate it to another person. So I'd rather just do it myself, because I know what I want, but I don't know how to say it. I just know. Like, I can close my eyes and picture this video, and I can picture how it should feel to watch. I can picture the pacing. I can picture the visuals, but I can't tell you. I can only tell you by making it and then showing you and saying, this is what I meant. But by that time, it's finished. And it's like, well, okay, the video's done now. So no, I don't really want to bother with trying to overhire people for something I could just do myself. Yeah, I would love to clone myself, man. If that was an option, I would totally do it. But we can't. Elon Musk hasn't made that possible yet. It's a bit like composing a song. Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's just because, look, this is a me-specific problem, or it's a personality-specific problem, I should say. Because I'm not trying to say that nobody should hire editors. Because I think whenever I say something like this, people misconstrue it to thinking, oh, this guy, he thinks hiring people's bad? What an arrogant... Like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. It's more like I always have a really hard time trying to get other people to do what I want. And you can interpret that however you want. You can interpret that as other people suck. You can interpret that as me not being a good communicator. The point is, it doesn't really matter why. That's just... I know that that's the reality, is that for whatever combination of reasons, whether it's my fault or the other person's fault, it never works for me. So my logic is I will do what works for me. And what works for me is doing it. And I know that I think the reason that's hard for people to accept is that that is not most people. I think most people have it better where they're more, they're less autistic, if you know what I mean. Like they have they have better rapport, but they sacrifice that. Like someone, the average person or whatever, or the majority or whatever, I don't even know how to describe it, but just from my observation, I think more people are like this than not, where I think the majority of people they can't do what I can in terms of they can't be a programmer and an artist and a video editor, but they could do one of those things, and they're good enough at communicating to coordinate other people to do the rest. But by being a good coordinator, they sacrifice their own ability to do any of those things themselves. Whereas I think I've unconsciously taken the other price, where for me, I much prefer, like I don't know how to explain or train people, but I know how to do it myself. So that's the trade-off I accept. And I think the thing I'm tired of seeing is how people think there is a right option, where it's like, oh, you can do it yourself? No, that's the wrong option. You're supposed to delegate everything. And it's like, no, not really. You're supposed to do that if you are the type of person that is better off at delegating everything, which is I think that is most people, which is why I think my method looks so foreign. But I know myself well enough to know that that isn't me, which is why every time I've done it, it's backfired. Now, I think it wouldn't be me if it hadn't backfired. You know what I mean? I think I would know, and I'd be way more open to delegating if it actually worked for me. But because I have experience and have tried it, because that's the thing, I'm not just saying this out of nowhere. I've tried it, and every time it's not worked. So what's the lesson and pattern you take away? It's like, well, every time I do it, it conforms to a pattern where it doesn't work. So I will conform to the pattern that gives me the result I want instead. And for me, it's just this method, and for other people, it's different. Anyway, we'll move on from that topic. It's a big one, but no, I don't have interest in hiring an editor. But anyway, so you're probably looking at this right now. I've had this on my desktop for a few minutes, and you're probably noticing it looks very different. And this is the lab level from last week, but I'm trying something out with it. So lately, this is a very exciting topic. I've been trying to essentially do the look dev work that my contractor should have done. And I guess back then I didn't really know what proper look dev looked like anyway. So I'm now kind of going through my own version of that and coming up with my own visual identity for the game. And I know this looks a bit weird from last week, but the essential attitude I'm taking is the same attitude I'm taking with Gabi's model. And that what I showed in my little video just then, a lot of that footage in the voiceover that you'll get to see when the video comes out, it's talking about one of the key components of why Gabi looks good. Because some of you might look at Gabi and think, oh, it's so it's so cool. And that's probably as deep as you'll go. And some of you might think because it's high res and it's sharp and it's high fidelity, that's why it's good. No, that's not why either. The reason why Gabi's model's good, as I will describe when this video is finished, is that it starts with the overall impression, not the details. It starts with the impression first. If you can't nail the impression first, anything else is folly and a waste of time. So I've taken that attitude to the absolute extreme and applied it to the entire environment, because I figured it worked for Gabi. Why wouldn't it work for everything else? So what I've done here, I know it looks a bit weird, but part of the discussions over the last few weeks on these streams, you guys, if you've been here, we've been discussing and looking up anime games and stuff and trying to kind of figure out and get to the bottom of what's going on. Why do anime games look so good? What is it that they did that made it look awesome? And to get some reference open, we'll look up that Pokemon game, whatever it was. I don't know which game it was. There was some, I guess this works as an example. Digimon game. There was a Digimon game as well that looked really cool. We'll get the references open, and then, because what I have on my screen won't make sense until we talk about, we've got to zoom back a bit. But you look at games like this, right? And I know these are very low-res screenshots, but it doesn't really matter. Because the point is not how high-res it is. And I think this is kind of the frustration gamers are starting to have with modern games now, where everyone is infatuated with fidelity and not the impression. And when I say the impression, I mean when you zoom the hell out and blur your eyes, does it still look appealing? And that's the lesson I think that all 3D artists 20 years ago would have had to learn to make anything. But because tools are so advanced now, you can skip over that, jump straight into Substance Designer and add 4K to everything, and not think once about the actual impression of what you're doing. And I think that is the difference in quality between, you know, asset flip slop versus artistry. I think that's the line, is, have they thought about the impression? And if they haven't, they're not an artist, they're just a tech monkey. They're a substance designer monkey that doesn't know what they're doing. The opposite to that is where you're extremely deliberate about everything. And I think that after looking at all of these pictures and thinking very deeply about them, I think that is the key ingredient to what's going on. Because some of you might look at this and think, oh, well, it's because they use vertex lighting, or it's because they use hand-done textures, or it's because whatever reason. And I think the core of what, like, because you might think, oh, well, it's hand-done textures. But it's like, well, there are lots of bad ways to make handmade textures. Why do these handmade textures look good? Because my attitude at the moment has been accepting that I'm probably going to have to do handmade textures if I really want the look. But I don't want to go into it foolishly, because part of the reason I've avoided doing hand-painted textures is that I know it's a lot of work. And I don't know, is there an example I can show? I'll show you what I mean. So if I sound a bit incoherent, I apologize. I didn't get much sleep, and I'm still perpetually frustrated with the YouTube stream breaking. So I just need to collect my thoughts for a sec. But because I've done hand-painted textures before, I gotta go back in time. We're gonna go back in time about 9 years, and I'll show you what I was doing once upon a time. So this was one of my first solo, well, not one of my first, but it was the last solo game I kind of put proper effort into, and the game was bad. It's bad. It's sort of like a Life is Strange-esque tech demo, walking sim. It's bad, okay? You don't need to play it. It's terrible. But this is where I learnt a lot of my important lessons about how not to do things. Why is it bad? I could sit for hours and talk about why it's bad. Is there a video? Because I don't have it uploaded. Like, I don't have the build of it uploaded anymore. But there might be footage of it somewhere online. I'll try and find video, because I think video would be better. Because, yeah, most of you probably had no idea that I'd made this. I'll get a video. Because I think it was weirdly, I don't know, somehow people did make videos on this for some reason. Here we go. So thanks Vampire for preserving. Oh, we got the YouTuber intro. Let's go. So this was like one of the first game. I was still a student when I made this. And I did cutscenes. I know, crazy, right? I did hand animated cutscenes. I did keyframed animations. Oh man, I forgot I did most of this. And I did so this was all me. Everything. So this was a solo game. This is how I was this is sort of this is the project where I learnt that solo dev is actually pretty good. But there was a lot of mistakes I made here. For instance, the environment is all hand done, so the textures are hand painted, the rocks, the models themselves were actually from stock models. So this boardwalk, Because the reason this is bad is because if you play it on ×2 speed, you'll notice that the gameplay is just standing around doing nothing. And that's why this is bad, to answer your question. Because it is not a game. It's just an artsy whatever. Like, it's a nothing burger artsy, like, tech demo. And all you do is walk and talk to people. And because I took this game to PAX one year. So, oh man. So I'm just realizing that there's a whole freaking law book worth of stuff before Project Feline that you guys have no idea about. So yeah, before I did Project Feline, I was at this institute trying to study 3D art. Total waste of time, by the way, waste of money. But in that environment, I made this game and I took it to PAX Australia in 2016. And that's where I learned the lessons I needed to. It had nothing to do with the actual institute, but just by taking the game to the public and watching people play it at a booth, I learned so many important lessons about how not to make a game. Because as I saw people at the booth playing this, I noticed that none of them were having any fun and they didn't know what to do. And I had to constantly direct them over their shoulder, telling them where to go. And it seems like common sense, right? But then I remember that most people haven't been to PAX and have had to present at a booth. So most beginner game developers would probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Because, I don't know, for me, I just take it as common sense, where it's like, yeah, you have to make the game good, where you don't have to have the developer telling you, talking you through it. And it shouldn't be just walking and talking. But, you know, I was how old? I was young back. I was really young. I'm still pretty young, but I was really young back then. And I didn't know that common sense stuff, right? I was just thinking about the artistry of it mostly. And anyway, the main point I wanted to bring this up for was the art, because I think it was just the default Unity models for like the default speed tree trees and the default rocks, but I did my own textures on them. And I learned something about that where I realized, oh, this actually looks really good insofar as the impression, because those colors I chose on purpose, this sort of gold and green. I wanted that color scheme, and it ended up looking really close to the concept art, which was, I might actually still have the concept art online somewhere. I don't know if it's on my ArtStation or something, but I did a lot of concept art for this game. Maybe too much. Oh, this is an ArtStation. As I was saying, I'll show you some of the artwork, because the one thing I got right was making the game look exactly the way I wanted it to, but I got everything else wrong. So you'll see that this is some of the concept art from it, and you can see that it looks like the game, even though this is done in Photoshop. And I had all of this intricate, detailed concept art, and it was very vague. That's the thing too, is that, and I did some other experiments with different styles as well. So, yeah, sorry, this was a bit of a tangent, but none of you guys probably knew I even did this. But the point is that I learnt how to kind of spot good art and like how to make it to exert dominion over the space. So it looks right, but I mean, yeah, everything else sucks though. Like the dialogue sucks, the voice acting sucks, the gameplay sucks. And that's kind of why for Project Feline, I went the complete 180, where it's like, I'm not going to have dialogue like this at all. I'm not going to do voice acting. I'm not going to do any of that. So it's, you know, that's kind of, I don't think, if I hadn't made this game, I probably would have ended up in a completely different spot, and I would have not learnt the right things. So my point with this, because I'm just having a flood of repressed memories right now, filling my head, because this was not a easy game to make, and there was a lot of weird drama happening as well with, because I was in like this office space with like 6 other people that were also trying to make stuff, and that was a whole saga. But I learnt a lot of valuable things doing this. Now, the reason to bring this back to texturing and look development, because this is, I think, the first time where I got look development right. But doing these textures, I did these in Photoshop, and I would just go in with the brush tool and use a color palette and do, you know, add in like blotches of light and dark with this green sort of color. And that's basically what I did for everything. And it was labor intensive. And when people say, oh, just hand draw the textures, because I've done it before in this game, I know what that means. And it's like, that is work. That's like, you got to be careful that you don't overdo the work. And something I learned as well doing these is because I painted all of these at very high resolution, even though it doesn't look like it in the video, in this 1080p video. The textures themselves were like 2K, 4K, whatever. And I had to downsize them eventually to, you know, like you see on the board, like the walkway here, I've got like paint strokes of wood, and doing textures at high res like that, it's fine if you're just doing brushy stuff like this, because the textures aren't that detailed. But for Project Feline and the references I'm doing, do I have that tab open still? Yeah, so for this kind of stuff, I know just from doing those textures in the past that getting really sharp lines like this, it's like, oh, this could be, if I go about this the wrong way, this could be hell. Because I've tried doing high fidelity textures like this before and I did not enjoy it. And that's the stuff that tempts you into going, oh, well, I'll just generate it with Substance Designer and skip that. But there's a cost there as well where your game looks like a mega scan instead of the way you want it to look. And the attitude I'm taking is very much like, I don't want to do Substance Painter, whatever. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do anything resembling PBR. Because the minute you go into that territory, as I've learned with the previous iterations of Project Feline, like even if we go back to like my own on Project Feline itself, old footage of this game, like this video, right? If we even go back here, like even in these environments, you can kind of see, like, it has the Substance Designer look, which is very close to the Unreal look, right? Like, the part of the reason the Unreal Engine looks the way it does is because the assets people typically put into Unreal are just done in Substance Painter. And there's a Substance Painter look. And I see this on, like, every 3D art student's portfolio. They all look the same, where they look like they've been done in Substance Painter and rendered in Marmoset Viewer, and they look the exact same. And my goal is always like deliberate art style. I want to make something distinct. So by virtue of that, I'm trying to not use those tools and do the stuff that I think is familiar. And now it just so happens that I happen to be very familiar with Photoshop. And this is what I used to make these textures. I used Photoshop for this. But again, it's like, I didn't use Photoshop well, though. That's the thing, is that I think I used the right tool, but I used it wrong. Because these textures aren't amazing. Like, they're good, but they're not... Like, you look at the tree, it's kind of smeary. And it's like, it looks like an amateur hand-painted texture. But there is a tier of texture that is still hand-painted. Like this. This was probably done in Photoshop, but the technique is way ahead of me. So a lot of what I've been doing this week, I know this is a very long roundabout ramble here, but to bring it back to Project Feline, my research this week, I've been going very hard on trying to uncover the secrets of this technique of how did artists in 2005 hand do their textures without frickin' Substance Designer, without any of that. How did they do it and have it look this good? Because I know that there is some magic thing happening here that is calling to me. And it's like, Ray, you have to figure me out. That's what it's calling to me. I'm looking at these textures. I'm looking at the beautiful trims on these environments. I'm looking at the beautiful colors. And it's telling me that there is a secret here, hiding in plain sight. And that it's the way I want to do it. Like, I know that there's something about this method that will be appealing. So I've been going down this rabbit hole this week of trying to learn how I should be making textures. Not the way YouTube tells you how to do it. Not the way, you know, the general, your average 3D art instructor will tell you how to do it. I want to find the way that however these guys did it, that's how I want to do it. And I don't know. I have a feeling it's the right way. So to bring this to my experiments currently, like I said, it starts with the impression. So I've been thinking mostly first about color, where it's like, before I even bother with this, what colors do I even want to use? Because I think the impression of the environment, when I think about any game I've played ever, any level I remember, I don't remember the layout and I don't remember the 10K details on the models. I tend to remember the music and the color theme. That's what I tend to remember. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but whenever I think of my favorite game levels, like the clearly forest in Rayman 3, actually, we'll look some of those up and you can maybe see what I mean. Or some, I don't know, you guys name some examples of your own. I'll do some chat interaction. I know I've been going on this long-winded ramble. So chat time. Give me some examples of levels you remember the most. Java says, hey man, you inspired me to stop procrastinating my game. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Any Art says, missed the last stream. Area's looking good with these colors. Thank you. We'll get more into the colors in just a second. But so on the topic of that, like some of my favorite colors, like you see this is a level from Rayman 3. Great game, by the way. Now, I don't remember the exact layout of where the table is or where the balloon is or whatever. But this, when I think Rayman 3, when I close my eyes and think Rayman 3, and when I think the Clearly Forest, I think of the bongo music that was playing, which was, with the shaker. It has like the rice shaker and the bongo music. And then it has visually there, I'm just closing my eyes and remembering. It has lots of like forest green and like blue fog in the background. And the trees are very big and dark, like dark forest green, bluish green aqua fog, and like warm green grass in the foreground. That's like, when people tell me Rayman 3, that's what my imagination instantly remembers. As for everything else, I don't remember. I don't remember what crates they put where. Actually, this image is a really good example, because the image is so resolution. This is basically like what is actually, if you know those things where you put like a brain scanner on someone and it recreates what their imagination is thinking? This would kind of be it, right? Where you notice how the only thing you can really make out in this low-res image is the exact things I've just described. Like the aqua blue fog, the warm green, like that's what I'm trying to talk about, right? The impression. So that's why this level still looks good, even though the textures aren't 100, megapixels, whatever. Like this is what good design is really. It's not about the 10K textures. It's about, if you zoom the hell out and only look at the essentials, what is left? And what's left is really nice colors. And then music, of course, that's a big part of it as well. I think music is like 80% of the memory is what music was playing. Any level from Sunset Overdrive? Well, I don't think I've played that game. Sunset, actually, no, wait a minute, hold on. Before I type it in, I think I might remember. That was the Insomniac one, wasn't it, for Xbox? I remember that game having lots of golds, purples, and greens. That's just my impression of the whole game. I don't remember what levels there were, but when you say Sunset Overdrive, I think spiky kind of aesthetics, strong line art, a gold, green, purple. Let's look up and see if that's true. All right, well, let's look at some of these pictures. Okay, there's more blue to it than I remember there being, so I got it a bit wrong. But the orange, and it's got the green. I was sort of right. I think I mistook purple for blue. I thought it had more purple in it. But that's why this game probably sticks out in people's memory, because I haven't really played it that seriously, but someone who has played it will remember it better. Yeah, we got that gold in the buildings here and the red. Like, that's the impression of this game. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you guys can see that. Like, this sort of stuff. This looks, I don't know if this is like early footage or not, but yeah, that gold, red. There's a bit of purple in there. I think it's the enemies have that kind of purple. That's what it was. It's more of a pink, really. It's for the zombies. But it's the color. That's the impression. That's what it's about. And then the music is probably like, if I remember, it sounded very much like Scott Pilgrim type music. That's just from memory. And I don't know, I think that's important stuff to point out, because all your game will really be, I think when people aren't playing your game, it is only going to be the memory. Like, the minute the disc is not in the console, all that's left of your game is the memory, and most of that memory is only the impression and not the details. And I think that's why I'm so obsessed with this idea of impression lately, because I know that all of you right now that aren't able to play it yet, that's all the game is to you currently. It's just the impression of an anime game. So, you guys can already kind of see what I mean. The minute you're not playing it is only a memory. It does feel like summer, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's the thing, is that these impressions create feelings. And I mean, really, that's really what you're remembering. It's the feeling. It isn't the... Oh man, Sunset Overdrive. That was my favorite game because it used 8K textures. Oh man, that's why it was my favorite. It's like, no, nobody says that. Everyone remembers the feeling, how it made you feel. And these specific colors make you feel summer, or whatever you said. Aura, like whatever. Yeah, the aura, that's right. Yeah, that's precisely it. Yeah. I don't think I have to go deeper into it. You guys get it. But, oh my god, the amount of people I've talked to that just think, oh, well, no, that doesn't matter. Like, I'll just go on Quixel.com and just chuck in, like this stuff. Like this, okay. What impression does this leave? If it does leave an impression, it's by complete accident. This was not deliberate. But imagine if I had been way more careful and deliberate about the color choice here. Like, we've been able to fake some of it with the fog color, but the assets themselves are... They don't... Like, what I'm thinking is you shouldn't need to smear the frame with post-processing to compensate for your lack of artistic skill. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. Because that's the thing. On video, it probably looks fine, but none of you have actually played this. And let me tell you, it's not great. When you actually sit and play it, when it's not on a YouTube video... the majesty, the appeal, it wears off super quickly, and it feels like an overlit, over post-processed Unreal 4 game. That's what this is, right? And you can see we've tried to copy some of the Sunset Overdrive colors with the purple, gold, and the blue or whatever, but it's a cheap imitation. It's nothing more than that. It isn't actually good. It's just, oh, well, Sunset Overdrive uses this color, we'll use the same one. But that's not a good, that's not a good reason to just pick colors. You gotta... Anyway, so what I've been... To the complete 180 of this, I've been trying to take this attitude extremely seriously. And, starting just with colors. Now, these might not be the colors I end up using, but what I wanted to do was strip everything down. So I've taken off most of the pre-done textures I had on last week. I've taken them off. And I've gone, right, without any detail, what impression do I want to leave? And I think last week we were looking at Half-Life Black Mesa, the research facility, and we were looking at the colors of that level, and it had lots of greens. And I thought, what color palette could I come up with that uses lots of greens that would leave a cool impression? And the impression I have in mind for this level is a semi-ominous, kind of mysterious, you feel kind of unsafe, but not sure. It's meant to kind of be a bit ambiguous, where it's like, I don't feel directly threatened, but I feel uneasy. Kind of like the way I feel when I walk into a medical laboratory, where you don't understand what's happening around you that much, and it makes you feel uneasy. That's the feeling I want, which... This is what I'm thinking about mainly. Now, I'm going to open a Photoshop file real quick. Because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit here. Because I'm thinking mostly about colors. So I've tried to pick out some colors of like greens and orange. And I picked orange as like an accent color because I just thought, oh, that might look cool. So I don't know if this is what I'll end up going with. I do want to try out a few more palettes. But you'll probably notice that I'm testing this on a very specific texture. I'm not just chucking in colors, but I've got this sort of checker thing going on. Now, the reason this is here, I'm just trying to find the file, because this was a texture I made, actually. This isn't some free online, like, Quixel texture. I actually made this texture by hand in Photoshop. And my attitude with making this texture was that I wanted to go through again what it was like to make textures in Photoshop, because I haven't done that since that old game I showed from like 9 years ago. I haven't done it in a long time. So I opened Photoshop and I started just messing around and I made these tiles. So all I did here was that I got a color fill, just a color fill layer. I then added just, this is literally just pixel level. Like I've done it very, very low res. So if we go to the actual like image settings, this is a 128 by 128 texture. It's small. It's not a 1024 texture or a 250 or a 4K texture or whatever. This is like less than a quarter of a 1K texture. And I'm like, what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking artist impression. I'm thinking of the overall impression. Like, I want to apply this to the environment with the colors, but could I apply that to the texture itself as well? And that's what I was thinking here, is like, because I don't know the techniques. That's what I've been trying to teach myself this week, is I know how to not do hand-painted textures, but I know that if I did it right, I would have no desire to try and shortcut it with substance. I would have no desire to try and auto-generate it with whatever, or to generate them with AI. I knew that if I just had the right attitude and the right technique, then it would be less painful to just command the canvas directly. That's what I know. But I just don't have that gap yet, where it's like, I know that that's the level I want, but I'm not at that level. So how do I jump ahead and teach myself so that I can get to that level and achieve total dominion over the canvas, and thus dominion over the environment, and thus dominion over the whole game? And I think that's ultimately, that's what art direction is all about. That's the ultimate antithesis to the UE5 attitude, which excites me a lot. I don't know what to say. It excites me a lot. And I know this might seem ridiculous. You might look at this and go, oh, Raymond, you don't have to do it in Photoshop. You can just generate this in Substance Designer. And it's like, no, I know that there's a way about this that is correct, and I can't explain it yet. But I can explain it, but I want to get to that a bit later. I want to show this first, and there's another thing I then want to show after this. But anyway, so I took just this, and what I'm thinking is, creases are a big part of these old textures, right? If we go and look up some reference of the Half-Life level, because we were studying this last week, I was looking at this, and I was thinking, how do they make, because I know that this was definitely done in Photoshop, these textures, and I'm thinking, how do they make these wall creases? Because when you actually look at it, when you look at it critically, like a level like this, what's really going on? And it's like, well, the wall is actually just a noise, like just noise. It's just like a light diffused noise texture, which is why it doesn't look like a totally flat color. It's just a bit of noise, a bit of Perlin noise or whatever. And then they've just drawn on creases. And then this little bit here, this little bar, well, that's actually the same texture as just the flat wall, but they've just shaded, they've added in like hand-painted global illumination to make this look as if it is being extruded outwards when it really isn't. But it's all just shading. It's not actual painted detail. It's just shading. And it's like, wow, that's sick. I like that. How do they do that? How do you know how to paint it in such a way where you don't have to model in all this detail and you can achieve the impression of depth with just like 2 pixels? Isn't that incredible? And I thought, man, this is so cool. I'm going to try that. So I tried it. So this is what I was able to just quickly do. I literally, this is, because it's so low res, I can literally just draw a line of pixels that's slightly darker and a line of pixels that's slightly lighter. And then I just went to like literally filter, generate, where was it? Render, fibers. And then I just chuck that and then overlay, and boom. Now you've got a bit of variation going on. And then you've got a base color underneath, which I can change. So I've got this fill layer. I will change that to, we'll change this color. Something like this, right? And boom, there we've got it. And then if we go to view, pattern preview, and now we can see how it looks repeated. And hey, this looks kind of like a tile. This looks like something you'd see at a swimming pool or something. It looks like a like a pool tile. And maybe if we change the color to a more sort of blue, something more like this maybe, right? And it's just like, oh my goodness, I made something that looks like a tile with like four steps. And it's like, whoa, that felt fun. That felt great. So, and I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, but if you zoom in, you could see the pixels. It's not 4K. And it's like, no, shut up. I don't care if it's not 4K. I literally don't care. This looks cool. I like this. I don't care if it's only 128 by 128. This has the impression. This is what I'm talking about, right? It's because, and this is the unlearning and relearning I've had to do. Because when I was in this institute, man, they tell you to do it the most weird backwards way where it's like, because I wasn't taught how to do this. I was literally, every 3D course I've ever seen goes immediately to, so you'll do your high poly sculpt, you'll then bake the normal maps and fiddle around with 10 settings for like 2 hours to get the right normal map bake with no artifacts. And then you're going to take this into Substance Designer and just auto-generate all this whatever. And then that's why every single student I've met has, like, their portfolio looks the exact same, because they are just doing the standard whatever. Like, they're not actually exerting control over anything, and they're not making their own decisions. They're just following the recipe. And that's what I was taught to do, and I always had something in my soul telling me that it's wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Actually, I don't know if I have an example of this on my ArtStation still, but because I've tried the general way that everyone tells you to do, where it's like, because I found a tutorial on YouTube last week on how to do this, and you know what they tell you to do? They go, oh, well, first you open a 3D program, which is wrong immediately. No. But it's like, you open 3ds Max, and then you model in the tiles, and then you bake a normal map of the tile, and it's like, do I really have to go through this whole procedure just to make tiles? Like, are you serious right now? Like, that's... So if I sound angry, I'm not angry. I'm just kind of frustrated. Like, I'm just very passionate, okay? That's what it is. Because I've literally been my entire time learning 3D art. I think I finally stepped into the world of learning 3D art that I've been trying to chase this entire time. That I'm finally entering into now. I'm finally finding the way I've wanted to do it this whole time. But everyone tells me not to do it. But on my ArtStation, I think there is... I don't know if it's still uploaded. I think it might not be here anymore. Okay, I don't think it's here anymore, but I did have a high poly sculpted character I'd done once, and that was my least favorite thing I ever made because of the weird procedure you had to go through to do it. But my point is that this was fun doing it like this in low resolution because you don't get an option apart from focusing on the impression. That's all you have. You don't have 10, you don't get to zoom in and like get distracted by how high fidelity it is and go, oh, I can make this scale look better or whatever. Like, no, you don't have any of that. All you get is 128 pixels, and the challenge, it's a game. It's like a game, right? Where it's like, with this amount of pixels and this amount of colors, because it's in 4-bit color, I think, as well. Actually, no, it's in 8-bit color, but I was doing a bunch of research on these forums on how people in the 2000s made PS2 textures, and back then, they only had 4-bit color and 128 pixels, so I'm trying to work to similar limitations, because it's a game. It's like, with this amount of because I think in a 4-bit texture, you get, what, 32 colors or 256 colors, or something like that, which isn't that many, right? And it's like, with this limited set of colors and this limited resolution, can you make something that looks like a tile? And that, I don't know if it sounds like a cool challenge, right? It sounds like a game where the objective of the game is to get the impression of a tile with these limitations. But because I tried doing this week, I'm instead doing this on a 4K canvas instead, and it wasn't fun anymore for some reason. I wonder if you guys can guess why. If you try to do the exact same thing at 4K, why is it not fun anymore for some reason? Yeah, we'll go all out. We'll go 32-bit color. We'll do 4K. We'll go all the way. Let's go. Let's try this. Let's make a new canvas that's 4K, and let's try to make the same thing again here, and watch what happens. So if I wanted to create those lines, well, firstly, because here's how I did it on the... This is how I did it on the first on the low res version. I went to the pencil tool. That's right, the pencil tool, because it's literally a pixel brush. And I did a fill layer. I set this to gray. I filled it. I then went and started drawing in. I'd maybe pick a slightly darker gray, like this, to create those creases. And it's like, well, I have to draw this all across this massive... Oh my god, I have to draw in all this whatever. Oh, and then if I want the light crease, I'll pick a lighter shade and put that on this side. But it's like, that isn't good enough now, all of a sudden, because this takes up such a small amount of the texture now. And it's like, oh, I can't just draw the pixels on, actually. I have to... Like, how do you make a bevel... Well, okay, well, we'll just make it bigger. We'll just zoom it in and make it big so it takes up more of the space. But then when you do that, it filters the hell out of it, of course, and it looks... Like, now the entire point of it being 4K has been nullified. And it's like, all right, well, then how do you draw creases at 4K natively without having to scale it up? Well, you'd have to get some kind of complicated brush now. Now you have to pick a sharp brush that happens to look correct. And it's just like, I don't know. What's some of these? Yeah, so... Oh, come on, Photoshop. Come on, Photoshop. It's not letting me draw. Yeah, so now we're going to pick a thicker brush, and then we can draw these on. But now the brush has all this extra detail on it now. You can see that the brush now has this feathering on the edges, and it has like this... And it's like, it's not as pure. Something's not as pure about it, right? And then if you wanted to add that fiber detail over the top, like I'd done, we can go to filter, generate wherever it was, render fibers. We'll change the variance a bit. Right? I don't know what numbers I put in here. Something like this. We'll get like the overlay. I can't remember exactly how I did it. It was something along these lines, right? But it's like, you notice how, because there's more fidelity, there's more flaws too. And it's like, you can't just get away. Like the amount of effort to do it at 4K, it like goes on this curve where it's like, it gets high after a certain amount of fidelity, it becomes a pain. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, because I don't have my tablet out right now. It'd be easier with a tablet, but it's like, even that is sort of a point. Like, this was so simple, I didn't even need a tablet to make it. Like, oh man, it was nice. But this, if you want it to look not bad, you have to put in so much more work just because the canvas is bigger, and you get diminishing returns at some point. And then when that happens, you just think, oh, well, screw this. I'm not going to hand draw my textures anymore. I'm going to go to Substance Designer and auto-generate a pattern. And yeah, that'll get the job done quicker. But then you lose something. You lose the handcrafted look, and you instead get the Substance Designer look. I don't know how to explain it beyond that, but something is happening when you approach a fidelity above a certain level. It's like the diminishing returns kicks in, and the higher res... Like, if this was 8K, it'd be even more of a pain. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. But, what I'm trying to say is, with 128 by 128, oh my god, man. It just takes out so much bloat for you. It takes out so many decisions for you. Because now it's like, you can zoom out on the 4K version and think about the impression, but then you can zoom in and lose the forest for the trees. You can zoom in closely and forget about the impression and focus on fidelity. And that is a trap, in my opinion. I think for my specific thing that I want to do, that is a trap of getting to having the privilege of looking at something this closely is completely unnecessary. Like, for a Crisis 4, maybe. But for Project Feline, it's meant to be an anime game. It's a fast game. You're not meant to be looking at the props this closely. So because, I don't know, in every program I've seen, they always teach you to texture at like double the resolution you need. It's like, oh, you want to texture it at 4K and then scale it down to 1K. Like, everyone tells me to do that. But when you start off at 4K or whatever, you start off with the ability to lose sight of the impression, which is a massive obstacle. And most people, I think, just beginners or whatever, or stupid people like me, they first think that that's a good thing, where it's like, oh yeah, because then it's higher res and it's better. And it's like, no, it's just a distraction. But that didn't happen. Like, this texture literally took like less than 10 minutes to make it look like this. Now, granted, it's simple, but the thing, my achievement this week that I was really happy about was, can I at least make creases and tiles just look like tiles? That's all I wanted to do, and I think I've achieved that. And now that I'm able to do that, it's now opened my mind up to like, well, what else do I need to make? And it's like, how will I do it? And because tiles are very simple, but if you wanted to do things like trims or like gutters or fabric or whatever, it's like, well, how do you get the impression of fabric on a 128 by 128 texture? And the choice to have it be condensed to having the texture be that small, it basically means that all that is there is the impression and the fidelity. You don't have to get distracted with fidelity. I'm repeating myself here. The other thing that's really cool as well is that the actual texture size is so small. It's freaking awesome, man. Like, look at it. So here's all the colors I did. Because what I did, I exported out each palette. I call it a palette tile. Because my goal at the moment is, I've got just basic detail with a tile, and then I'm trying out different colors. So then I take those colors into the environment and see how the colors look on the environment to see if the impression is good. Now, with these textures, the thing that's so freaking cool is they're so tiny. Like, look at this. This is a 128 texture. How big is that? Like, less than 100 kilobytes, dude. Isn't that freaking cool? Look at this, man. Like 50 kilobytes. Whereas if I done the same thing at 4K, it'd be like a megabyte or whatever. But this is literally 50 kilobytes, dude. I could probably make them smaller. If I knew what I was doing, I could probably do it even better. But isn't it like, oh my god, man, it's so cool. It's so cool, man. Like, it feels as well, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels righteous. I don't know if that's the right word, but it feels like actually holy doing it like this, where everything is so lean and condensed and purposeful and not bloated with junk. Like, oh my god, man, it's such, the development of text, like, just, it makes development feel not heavy. It's like the meme of Syphilis pushing the boulder. Now the boulder feels tiny, and it's like, whoa. It's just so cool, man. I don't know how to do it justice. Now, because there's two other things I wanted to bring up on this topic. I'll just check chat real quick before I go off spiraling too far. Yeah, that's right. Just 128 pixels. That's all I needed. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that everything should be Nintendo DS quality, where everything is like 64 pixels. I'm not saying that everything should be lo-fi, because that's another trap as well, I think, where people will overuse the appeal of lo-fi as a crutch too, where you can get away with bad art direction because, oh guys, it's lo-fi, it's retro. But that's kind of the opposite extreme. There's like a sweet spot. There's a Goldilocks zone in the middle where it has appeal beyond lo-fi nostalgia, whatever, and it isn't overdone. I don't know there's a Goldilocks zone in the middle. So it's not that I'm trying to deliberately go for like, it looks like a DS game because it's retro. The reason I think this works is because it's only using what it needs, which is a bit different than just doing it for retro appeal. This is more like I would honestly, like, I would do this if there was something that was more detailed, like a wall. I would do 512 or 256, which is maybe too high to be considered lo-fi, but maybe that's what that texture needs, but nothing more. Which is, I mean, 256 is still pretty small too, right? But the point is that it's only using the resolution it needs by virtue of the amount of detail that's actually on the texture and the impression it's trying to create. Like, for a tile like this, you don't need more. But if I had a different kind of tile that had more patterns, then I wouldn't shy away from picking a bigger canvas, but I wouldn't make it needlessly big. And I think that's the distinction. That's when you're in the Goldilocks zone. When you leave it, it's when you've added too much detail. I don't know. I haven't quite figured out the concise way to word this yet. I'm still just in awe myself. Because I don't know. I guess for me, this might not seem like a big deal to everyone else, but to me, it's a big achievement for me because I've just since I started learning game development, I've been like brainwashed into thinking that everything has to be high fidelity for no reason. So the fact that I was able to do this at low res for me is like, it's a very important step into this. It's a step into the attitude I should have taken this whole time, that I wanted to take, that I just didn't have the courage to. Because I don't know if like if there's any like 3D art students in chat that kind of relate to what I'm saying. Because at a lot of these institutes, they don't go near this. They all go straight to the higher fidelity tools, and they don't even teach you what's possible with little. And that's kind of the world I was surrounded by for a long time, and it was demoralizing. And the idea of being a specialist 3D artist in a world where you have to do everything at 4K felt like hell. And it's like, I don't want to do that. But hell, because back in 2004, a 3D or a texture specialist or whatever, this is the world they were in. And this is a cooler world. I don't know how to put it, but there's an equilibrium to this world that is, I feel, is absent now. And I don't know, that's kind of all I had to really say. Like even, oh man, sorry, I just closed it. But that, even looking at a 4K texture sends me into a frenzy now. God damn. Now, I was going to bring this, because my textures don't look that good yet, right? I mean, they look, oh, it looks like a tile, cool, but I'm going to need to make better stuff than that. So I've been studying other people's textures that are from this bygone era. And I'm going to share some of those with you. I'm going to be sharing just what I've been looking at and what I can see. So I'm going to open some stuff up in another tab here real quick. So, because yeah, now this is beginner. I would consider this beginner level, where it's like, oh, cool, you can make creases. Cool. But then you get stuff like this, where it's like, now this is from some, like, I don't even know what this is from. I found this on DeviantArt, and it was some like model rip. I'll see if I can find the original link. It's from like MMD or I don't know. I'll show you the page I found this on, because it was really fascinating. So I found this on this DeviantArt page, and it was like, I don't know. Look, I have no idea what this is from. It looks like a DS game. But I don't know. MMD, does that mean anything to people? I've heard of the acronym MMD from somewhere, but I have no idea what it is. This guy doesn't seem to know either. It's more of an upload, but the stage is so old. It also comes from, like, I don't know what this is. Which game? Who knows? Fun fact, yeah. So I don't know what this is from, but this is freaking cool. I like this, okay? And this is the kind of vibe that I was wanting for my laboratory stage this whole time. And it's like, dude, they got the look, but the textures look so low res. How do they do it? Miku Miku Dance? Is that what MMD stands for? What's Miku Miku Dance? Oh, it's this person. It's the Domino's Pizza girl. Oh. Okay, I've like vaguely heard of this. Well, is it a game, or is it like is this like the DDR machine type stuff? I don't know. See, I don't know what this is, but this looks kind of cool. It has the same, what would you call it? I mean, okay, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. But this looks, it has the impression. This has an impression. It has the magic touch. You know what I'm saying? We'll call it the magic touch. That's what we'll call it. When something has a strong impression with low res, we're going to call that the magic touch from now on. Dominus. I mean, yeah, that's what it is, right? It's from what's the thing where it's like the Japanese, in Japan, they had this app that was like Domino's. It was like a Hatsune Miku thing plus Domino's, and it had the CEO. And it was like, hey y'all, I'm Scott here, and I'm here to show you the latest And it was like, oh, it was Domino's Pizza featuring Hatsune Miku. It was like the funniest commercial I've ever seen. It was so cool. I mean, like, I'm not crazy. Like, that does exist, right? I didn't dream that, did I? Domino's Pizza Hatsune Miku. I didn't dream it. It's like, yeah, it's this thing. This is where I know it from. The freaking best commercial ever. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Scott, and here I'm proud to announce an exciting, new, revolutionary product. The Hatsune Miku featuring Domino's Pizza. Like this, okay. This might, maybe you guys know about this character from somewhere else, but this is how I know about Hatsune from Mr. Scott here. Anyway, I think that there's an entire video series about this. It's really cool. I think it's by this YouTuber called Nick Robinson. Very cool stuff. Anyway, away from Hatsune Miku for the moment. This environment, I looked at this and it was love at first sight, and I was like, whoa, I want to know how to make that. Because it looks anime and it looks achievable. That's the important thing, is that it looks like one guy could make this, and it looks like the art style I actually want. Because the biggest barrier for me has been not realizing that you could make the look this way. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, well, I got to engineer mega scans or whatever to this precise way to look, and it's like, no. And I don't know, there's something about like, because I think the anime look in particular is so hard because it needs to be hand done to look good. You can't fake this look, and every time I've seen people fake it, it looks bad. So that's why I've been sort of stuck in this hole for a long time now of trying to get the anime look on the environments. And I've been trying to fake it this whole time, but now it's like, wait, doing it not faked manually, if you go about it a certain way, is achievable. It just means you can't do it at 4K, but I'm fine doing that, man. I'm fine paying that cost. So anyway, I downloaded this, and I wasn't able to get the model in, I don't think, but the textures I was able to get out, and I've just been looking at these. And I've just been trying to look at the textures and think, what is going on? What are they doing? What is happening? How did they do this? Because this definitely does not look like the product of a baked normal map or Substance Designer. This was probably made before Substance Designer existed. This looks like Adobe Photoshop CS3, and it looks awesome. And I'm thinking, how the hell... firstly, who made this and how? Now, I don't know who made it, but I've been on this rabbit hole, and I found this really cool website of another 3D artist that didn't make these textures, but they are from this era of when this would have been made. And this dude is like a professional 3D artist who's been in the industry a long time, and he has all of these resources on his website on how he makes handmade textures in Photoshop, and it's really freaking cool. Now, don't laugh, because the website itself is... You would never think to type this in, and you would never think to look here. Okay, so don't laugh with what I'm about to do. But I stumbled across, I think it was through the Polygon forum, Polycount, sorry. It was on the Polycount forum, and I stumbled across this website called www.poopinmymouth.com. Don't laugh. Okay, this is a real URL. This is a real website. And it says, oh, it's insecure. You can't go to this website. Shut up. I'm going to this website. Back in the day, we didn't have HTTPS. Now, this website takes you to this guy, Ben Mathis. No idea who he is, but I can tell immediately that this guy is an OG. Because if you scroll down a bit, you look at his actual work, and it's good. All right? It's good. And it's like, you look at it, and it's like, people today would probably look at this and go, oh, well, it's not 4K, so it's bad. But whoever says that, you just yell, just shut up. Like, no. You can tell that this is not high fidelity, but it is high quality craftsmanship. And this guy, if we scroll up a bit, you look at what he's worked on. Now, I don't know. It had a list of games just a minute ago. I don't know where it is. As for why he's titled his website poopinmymouth.com, I have no idea. But this is a great website, man. Let me tell you. Now, I think it said somewhere that he'd worked on like Oblivion or something. If we go to portfolio. I don't know where it was, but it had just a... Yeah, here we go. So he's worked on a bunch of PS2 games, which is already instantly how I know that this guy is the guy. He's worked on PS2 games. He's worked on all of this stuff from the golden age, not modern crap, okay? This is all good stuff. This is original Xbox games, original PlayStation 2 games, Oblivion. I think he did 2 of the statues in Oblivion and some other stuff. I haven't heard of the rest of these. And it's like, okay, man, this guy had to be good enough to not need to shortcut stuff through Substance Designer, whatever. This guy's an OG. And you look at his portfolio and you can tell immediately. Now, there was a specific page I was looking at. He has this whole page of tutorials and walkthroughs. And oh my God, man, this is the most valuable thing I've ever seen in 3D art, man. This is awesome. So if we go and look at... this is what I've been reading this week. I've been reading this guy and like, how does he do stuff? He has an entire series on like low poly character modeling. And it's not like... Here's the thing. And this is... I just want to get this out of the way real quick. Is that... Oh, thanks so much, Imp Sleepy Strings, for gifting 5 subs. Awesome, man. Epic legend. Thanks so much. Thank you so much, man. For all the new members, make sure you have your Discord account linked to your YouTube email. You'll get access to the members' Discord. Thanks so much, Imp. Legend. I'm just going to wait for all the... yeah, it's going to do with them one at a time. I'm going to wait for all the... Yeah. Thank you so much. But the... as I was saying... Why did he choose that website name? Yeah, I don't know. That's what I want to know, actually. I want to... If I ever meet this guy, Ben Mathis, I want to ask him why. The thing is, this is an old website. This website's been around since, like, 2002. And for some reason, that whole time, it's been called that. Why? I don't know. No idea. But I don't really care.
To answer how they got that texture look, they did what you did with the tiles, they hand-painted them. Also, some recommendations for anime games to look their textures, Mega Man Legends and Sola to Robo.
Thanks so much, Luca, for the 10, and thanks for the suggestions. I will Google those. I'll keep those open. Mega Man... Oh, I've heard of Mega Man Legends. I haven't played it, but I've heard of it. And then what's the other? Ooh. This is very good. Very good. I've not heard of these, but thanks so much for the suggestion. Oh, look at that, man. Whoa. Oh my God. This, oh, I know this is low res, but oh, this has got the sauce, man. Look at this. This is gorgeous, dude. Thanks so much. So to my point, to get to the magic of these textures, yeah. So that's the thing, is that I'm looking at these, right, and I'm thinking this is definitely hand textured. But there is a right and wrong way to hand texture stuff. So for instance, in my textures, I was able to get seams like this, but then I'm looking at these textures and I'm like, because they have like this, right? You see how it has this gradient glow? Or this? You see how these vents have like highlights on them? Now, my question is, how do they pick the colors for that? How do they do that? How is it that they know what shade of blue to pick for the highlights and what shade to pick for the shadows? Because hand-picking those shades is not fun. And I tried doing that. And because I know that it all starts with the color. It starts with the color. And I know that they have a limited palette they're using, but then they use shades. And it's like, well, how are they shading this stuff? They're obviously not picking all the shades in advance of like, you know, full black, slightly less black, slightly mid-gray, like they're not picking those out in advance. They're only probably picking 1 or 2 colors in advance and then doing something, I don't know what, but doing something to shade this. So for instance, like this kind of gradient, no one is picking out every single semitone here in advance. That's what I'm trying to say. They're probably picking this shade of blue and this gray, and that's it, and then they're shading it, and then they're adding in these dark bits. And I'm thinking, how what's the right way to shade like that? Because I know that it isn't to just pick the color. It isn't to use the normal brush tool, that's for sure. So I've been reading this Benjamin, what's his name? Ben Mathis. And real quick on this topic of low poly modeling. Now, I typically used to avoid things like this because when people say low poly modeling today, it's usually the Unity Asset Store look, which looks garbage. It's the low poly, like the Kenny, whatever, this guy. And when people say low poly now, people typically think of the Kenny, and it's like the Crossy Roads look. And that's why people tend to go ew at low poly and avoid it, which is what I did for a long time. But this is just one type of low poly. And it's actually possible, as it turns out, to do low poly and have it not look like it's just Kenny models. And this is kind of a distinction I just want to put out there, because maybe some of you guys thought the same when you think low poly modeling, because that's what I thought. I saw it, it's like low poly character series, and I'm like, oh, this better not be what I think it is. But then you look at it and it's like, wait, this is like the best kind of low poly modeling, because I think this is a big thing happening with the whole like people are tired of graphics argument that I see happening with gamers all the time now. I think the thing is that people automatically equate high poly with realism. And I don't think that's true, actually. I think, as Ben goes to show here, you can actually achieve realism in low poly pretty well. And like, if you look at some of his, it has like the kind of Resident Evil 4 look, which looks gorgeous, but it's kind of it's realism adjacent. And I don't know, because what my whole attitude I'm taking is not anti-realism, and I just want to put that out there, because I know this is probably a topic that'll come up. It's not that I'm anti-realism, but I'm anti-lazy, or anti, I don't know, anti-non-artisanship, whatever the word for that is. I don't know what the word for it is, but this guy can clearly still do realism, but the right way. You know what I mean? Like, he's not... Imagine having to model out an ear like this and have subsurface scattering maps and 10 material layers versus one guy with Photoshop CS3 and a good eye, right? Like, that's... Realism from this looks more impressive than realism from MetaHuman, in my opinion. And I think it isn't because the 4K textures. It's not the fidelity. It's the eye. It's the fact that the guy knows what he's doing. That's what makes this look cool, even though it doesn't. And the thing is, the craftsmanship is so cool that it doesn't even have to look that realistic for it to look appealing, which should really be the goal at the end of the day. If you're making a game and you're just doing realism and you're not thinking about appeal, you're kind of doing it wrong, I think. The whole point should be the graphics are there to make the prototype art look appealing, because otherwise, without graphics... Because graphics do matter, but they don't matter that... Fidelity doesn't matter. I think that's the argument I keep seeing everywhere. Everyone seems... Because there's the two extremes where it's like, graphics are everything, which I think everyone's kind of past that now. We've matured past that now, where everyone's like, oh, we got to have the best... If we spend the most money on graphics, it'll be good. I think we're past that now, the general public at least. I don't know about the studios, but I think most normal people are past that. But then people make the opposite conclusion, I see, where it's like graphics don't matter at all, which I don't think is true either. There is a Goldilocks zone in the middle where the graphics only matter insofar as they are appealing, and how they are appealing doesn't really matter. It depends on the style you want. There's no correct way to make it appealing. But the thing that makes this so appealing, there's a specific example I'm trying to find here, actually, real quick. Like this stuff, this doesn't look as good as like MetaHuman or whatever. It's not as high fidelity, but this looks sick somehow, right? Like this looks kind of cooler. And yeah, it's because this guy has definitely got foundational knowledge. He knows what he's doing, this guy. And he has a few other articles as well on this that I thought was really cool. So he has this whole thing on formal art training, because you know that this guy is definitely trained properly. And he's got a bunch of book recommendations, which are really cool. And he's got a bunch of... he had this other one about... that I wanted to bring up. And it was about texturing. About something I'd covered a few minutes ago. He had this thing about... Oh, where was it? Because, yeah, they're all just in this big list. But it was about texturing at full size. It was true color, and there was another one about true size. And these are actually great summations of what I've been trying to communicate. And this is why this dude I have a lot of respect for. I've never met this dude, but I have a lot of respect for him immediately because of how he thinks. Where was it? There was a specific one about the textures, knowing what texture size to pick. He had where was it? Normal map workflow, formal training ears, normal map DSS, tip images, programs, next gen texturing. Oh, I don't know where it was. It's not here for some reason. Because everything on the other column is videos. I don't know. But the one thing he talks about here is like, instead of just using a gradient map, picking out color shades manually. And he says if you do it manually, it'll look better. Because if you try to do it with just Photoshop gradient overlay, it'll desaturate the midtones. And that's really cool insight. This is the kind of thing that, you wouldn't learn if you just did a color map and did everything with specular and in substance. Like, you wouldn't learn this stuff here. And that's part of what gives it the handcrafted look. There was a specific one I was trying to find where he talks about texture size. I'm just so frustrated because I can't find it. He has this one, though, which is really cool. Texture theory, where he turns this low poly thing into this beautiful hand-textured shoulder pad. And it's just, oh my god, man, it's amazing. And I can see he's done similar. If you go step by step, and this is so valuable, I love that he's gone through step by step and shown. If you look at the pictures on the side, you can see the step by step where he starts off with just flat colors. And this is what I would think to do. I would think, oh, this is how I would start. But I don't know because I'm not that good yet, and I don't know how to bring it beyond this. And so this is why I was reading about this guy, because he knows how to bring it beyond just these flat colors. Because then he knows how to add these shades, and he uses things like the dodge and burn brush he uses for this, which isn't something I would think to do, because I keep forgetting that brush exists. I would think to like color it manually. But he uses like dodge and burn to add these shades, and then he adds in like specular in certain points on the texture, and then he adds image overlay. Excuse me. It's only here where he starts to add in actual photographs as overlays, just to add in a bit of extra, but it's on top of his hand-painted texture. And then he adds a bit more finishing touches, and then, like this, the fact that it's so deliberate is what I want. And he makes it look very easy. Whereas before I was reading this, I had no idea how to approach it. I was like, how the hell do you approach something like this? No idea. But this, man, this is the way. This is the way, man. Because, yeah, imagine having to get this high poly vote. Imagine having to sculpt out all these wires. I don't know. I don't want to think about it even. I'm going to close that. I don't even want to think about doing it like that. I hate it. And then he's got a bunch of these other cool tricks as well with shaders and... Oh, man. It's cool. So, big shout out to poopinmymouth.com. Great resource on the old way of the way that people used to do this stuff. Very cool. This was so cool to learn about. I'll try to link it. I don't know if it'll let me link it because I don't know if YouTube is going to auto flag it. Oh, it worked. Okay. But yeah, but you guys got to check this out, man. It's so cool. I know that it's a silly URL, but it's good. We're eating good. This is the good stuff. Like, look at these textures, right? Like, this is the kind of level that I want. It's like this, where you have so much control over what you're doing, and it looks amazing. Like, this is for a UI, by the way. Look at how beautiful this looks, man. Look at how beautiful this handcrafted UI looks. Oh, it's oh my goodness. It's so good. Anyway, so that's the reaction I want people to have in my game. I want them to look at it and go, oh, delightful. That's what I want them to think. So anyway, and you can see when you look at his breakdowns and then you look at an environment like this, it starts to make sense. You start to look at it and you start to think, oh, I see what they're doing. I see what they're doing. And I can look at a texture like this now and I can kind of understand what they're doing. Where to get these little highlights, because before I had read all that, I would have thought, I guess I'll just pick a color that I think looks light enough, but I don't really know. So I'm just going to try it and whatever. But no. And then you see here how it's got a gradient. I don't know if you guys can spot that. It might be hard to see on stream. But this bit of metal, it goes from like a dark to light. And it's like, well, you don't pixel by pixel draw that, obviously. So then how do you do it? And I think now that I've read all this guy's stuff, the way you would probably make this is you'd color in like a block of color. You start off with just basic color blocks, and then you use like dodge and burn to add in these highlights. And then you use like hard light shading to and well, now I actually understand what the purpose of Photoshop blend modes are now, because at first I thought they were just cool effects, but because I think this dude Ben had a whole article about how to texture with hard light shading, and hard light is a specific blend mode in Photoshop. So because what I did to make these creases, for instance, this is because I did this the wrong way at first. I'll erase them and start over to show you what I mean. Because I did those tiles the wrong way first. Because what I did, I got the pencil tool, and I picked black, and I drew a line, and then I picked white, and I drew a line, and then I set the opacity to like 30%, which is not really the right way. The way that, I think it was his website, or it might have been someone else's, because I was looking at a lot of blogs yesterday. The way that they tell you to do it, the old guard, let's call them that, the old guard, the old modelers, before Substance came around, the old guard used to do this, where they get a gray texture, change the blend mode to hard light, because when you add a gray and hard light, it makes the gray invisible. And then anything you add to the gray then becomes visible. So this is what these guys do. So I could go in with black. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You can go in with black and start drawing in lines, and it'll still look black, but if you change the strength, like you can either change the color or you can change the opacity. So I might go like 40%. Now it doesn't just pick opaque black, it picks colors a bit better. It picks the shades a bit better. So I could draw in this crease, and then you could like add, if you're using an actual brush tool and not just pixels like I am, you could like draw in intensity onto it, like this. Now I'm just using a mouse for demonstration, but you can do stuff like this, and you can get shadows and creases like that. And I think in one of his articles about art fundamentals, he talks about how in real life there are no lines, only edges. And thinking about it that way completely changed my attitude to doing hand-done textures. Because what I would think to do before, and this is what I did with Gabi's model, because I mean Gabi's meant to have line work, but the environment is not really meant to have that hard line work. It's not cel-shaded, remember. It's another kind of shading. So the way I would think to draw textures from scratch would be to like draw out lines and zones like I would on Gabi's model, and then try to magically make it look less like cel shading. But that's not the right way. Instead, you just don't think about it in terms of lines. You think about it in edges only. So if I was to make a crease here, you draw in anything that's closer to the surface is lighter, and anything that's recessed in is darker. And then you could do something like this. Now, again, this is very coarse because I can't be bothered to get my tablet out. I'm just using my mouse. But even with my mouse, it's not so bad, right? It's not that bad. And if you look at it zoomed out, it's like, you kind of get the impression that there's a crease. And then if you wanted to decide, actually, this, actually I kind of want to undo that, because if you can't rub it out, of course, but you could just go in with the mid gray again and just erase that, and boom, there you go. And I don't know, man, there's just something really cool about this way that I've fallen in love with, and that gives me a lot of hope. I'm just trying to erase this properly. I gotta up the opacity. Yeah, rub it out with mid gray. So the actual layer of the details is actually just gray, but then you hard light over the top of the color, and then you get that variation in color without having to hand pick the colors yourself, which is that it's smart, but it isn't. It's in the Goldilocks zone of just right, where it takes just the right amount of effort with the right amount of control. but not over the top. Like, yeah, I think you guys see what I'm trying to do, right? I'm not very good yet. My technique is not amazing yet, but I know that it's sort of on the right track. And then if I wanted to go even further with the look of everything, you can then use like dodge and burn like this and start adding like gradients. So thanks so much, Luca.
I would recommend using an
5.
airbrush for the gradient effect.
Yes, dude, you read my mind. You read my mind. That's exactly what I was gonna do. So I was just trying to get that crease. Actually, I probably overdone that crease a bit. So I'm just doing this to demonstrate what I've been learning, because this is so freaking... I love this. It's so cool, man. It's so awesome. But I'll clean up this line a bit, and then I'll show you how I would want to do gradients. So let me just I'll just cut this seam to the essentials, and then I think it's the burn. Where's burn? There we go. You get burn, and boom, we'll add like a gradient going up. And then you get dodge, and you add a bit of highlight to it. And it's just, it's just fun, man. It's just so fun. It's so cool. Look at this. Boom. And now you've got something, I know this isn't amazing, but it looks kind of vaguely like metal or whatever. I think I did make another texture that looked accidentally metallic. I'll show you guys that one. So this was, oh, no, this isn't it. No, this isn't. Oh, no, yeah, no, this is it, sorry. I'll turn off pattern. So I did make, just last night, I used those same tools to make this, which, like, I mean, I don't know what it is, but it's starting to look like a material. And again, the point of it I wasn't going to use this for anything. I just needed to practice the technique. And I was able to make some creases, and I was able to make, like, this little dodge and burn I've done in the middle. It kind of looks like a metal pipe or a barrel, you know? But I did it without needing a specular map and a roughness map and a normal map and all this crap. I did it without all that. I just did it. If you look at it zoomed out, it looks kind of shiny, just with dodge and burn. And it's like, oh, it's so cool. It's so cool, man. So yeah, I could do the same. I could like try to get that same look here. And if I wanted to make this look very shiny like metal, we could go dodge and add in like, you can already start to see it, right? You can see what I mean. Look at that. It kind of looks shiny now. And then like you start practicing that, and then you look at textures like this and it suddenly makes sense. And it's like, oh, that's how they would have done that. That's how they would have done that. Like this kind of highlight, they probably would have done the same thing there. And it's just, it all clicks and it makes sense. And it's like, oh, amazing. So I can actually picture how this would have been done now. Because like a few days ago, I looked at these and I was like, what on earth? How did they do this? And now it's starting to make sense. And because this is the kind of quality and vibe that I think I can achieve. Like this sort of look here. I'm thinking ahead into the future for the rest of the game. And I'm thinking, you know what? Like now that I kind of get what's happening, I could actually picture myself making textures like this and getting through it. Like I can actually picture it. Whereas the other way, needing to high poly sculpt and bake and generate procedural materials, like no, I can't picture that. I just can't. It's not part of the vision. I can't do it. I can't actually imagine myself doing that. But this I can imagine. I can imagine this, right? And that's how I know it's the right choice. I think the right choice, just from my experience doing this game, I've always found that the right choices are the ones that you can imagine. If there's something you can't imagine, it's probably the wrong choice. That's sort of what the wisdom I've gained over making lots of wrong choices for a while. So anyway, that's sort of like a lot of what I've been learning texture-wise, and I think it's sick. So sorry if I've been ignoring chat a bit. I've just been so enamored with, I don't know, man. It's been a great week. Like I know that my output isn't amazing yet, and in terms of like the actual stuff to show, it doesn't look spectacular, but I've been playing, and I think that feels like the right thing, is to nail this. It should come so naturally to me that by playing, I can figure it out. Whereas the hell option is when you're sitting there with so much uncertainty and, you know, instead of like playing with stuff, you're just clinically following things and like trying to finish the task as quick as possible because it's so boring you want to move on. Like that's what other things have felt like in the past, trying to get Megascans models and stuff. It's felt more like that. But this actually feels playful. And for a video game, you would hope it feels playful. Like that's how you would want it to feel. And I think that's going to come through in the end product. I think if people see that it looks playfully made, they're going to be playing better. I don't know. It's a weird theory, but I think it's true. But yeah. Again, using dodge and blend is destructive. Blend layer. I mean, yeah, that's what I've been doing. So this whole layer is not on the base color. This is literally just on a grayscale layer that I'm overlaying on top. But yeah, absolutely, you can blend these around. But the point is that you can just do this by hand and not have to do it the roundabout way that gets taught everywhere now. And actually, linear light looks pretty sick, if I do say. Linear light looks pretty cool. But you see how it has that kind of anime metal look. And that was what? Less than a minute of me just messing around? Like, I don't know how to describe how cool that is, but it's freaking cool. Semi-aquatic action has returned. yeah. Instead of putting gray up in the color, you could use a color in color blend mode. Oh, yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's a preference. Like this, you mean? I guess you could do that. I guess, yeah. I'll have to play around with what I prefer. Because the thing about color... actually, you might be onto something. Because I think you've just helped me figure out something. Because there was something I noticed... Good point. There was something I just noticed about those textures. Like this. Because I was noticing with these that when things get darker, they tend to get more saturated. And I think I can see what the road clear is now. I think what would be good is I'll try it out right now. We'll try it. I don't know how to explain it, but I could show it. I think what I'm trying to get at is something like this where we'll do a color overlay layer and we'll control the saturation proportional to the shading in the color layer. So again, I'm just using my mouse because I'm just figuring this stuff out. But let's say I wanted a metal, like a sort of purplish bluish metal. Oh, sorry, this is still the wrong brush. I'll just get my normal brush out for the moment. Like this. And I'll get a softer... Can I get a softer brush? Actually, this might be fine. And I think what you would do, right, is that for the dark areas, you'd pick something further down the color wheel, or maybe that's too saturated. That's the only thing because I have a tough time controlling the saturation with these color layers. That's my only gripe. But then you can then pick a different hue, more saturated for the highlights or something. Or better yet, let me start over. I think what I would want to do is picking more saturated blues for where it blends the color. That's what I've seen this other guy do. Why is my brush not getting smaller? So something like this. Yeah, where you kind of it's a bit strong. It's a little strong, but you make like the in-betweens of the tones more saturated, because that's what artists are taught to do. And then the highlights, maybe we'll take off a bit of saturation on the highlights here. And then maybe for the really dark ones, we'll take a bit off as well. Kind of like this. I'm assuming that's kind of what you meant, sort of like using... Because then you can control the color independently of the grayscale value, which I can start to see the use of now that I'm trying it. That's the thing, is that it's hard to explain what I'm thinking, but if I show it, I think it might make sense. Like that, yeah, not bad, right? And then if you actually just look at the actual, like that's the actual color, and then this is the actual grayscale, and it's, yeah. So if I change those back to the linear light and color, Yeah. So that's sort of the stuff I've been playing around with, because it really is the technique and the attitude. That's the thing that matters. And then I think what I'm seeing is that once you understand the technique and the attitude, then anything's possible. And my next move is going to be to try to create, well, firstly, it's picking colors, and then it's going to be to try to make stuff like this. And I think now that I understand what's happening, this feels more achievable. I think I might be able to figure out how to do this. And then, because hand painting textures always seemed like this daunting task to me of like, no, you can't hand paint them. That's so much work. And it's like, well, yeah, if you're doing it in 4K, yes. But if you don't do that, if you just do it at 128 or something, or sub 1K, then it's fine. Like these are all 128. And I mean, they don't look so bad, right? Like, if you look around, I mean, it's a bit bright. I haven't adjusted the lighting or anything. But this is me just playing around with the palette first, and knowing what colors do I want to use where. And I've tried out this palette with the orange and greens. I might, there's 2 more palettes I want to try with these palette tiles, I call them, that I've made. These little custom tiles. I want to try more purple-blue, like an monochromatic aqua palette, and something else. But this was just the first one I slapped together just to try it. I do like this color palette though, but I'm not sure if it fits the atmosphere of this level, but it might work for another. Because this green and orange is actually, I have not seen an environment of a game with these colors, and it looks distinctive. Like, it looks less generic than the old version, which is good, but it might be a little too bright for what I want for this level. I think this might actually work really well for like a city or something, this sort of color scheme. Because Gabi seems to stand out pretty well in it. Like, she's clearly readable. The floor and the Fresnel shading make it look sick. But I think it feels too happy. That's the word. I think the orange and the brightness makes it look happy. And that's unintended, but cool. I'm like, oh, cool. Now I know how to make something that feels happy. For a faster iteration of the level palette, take a screenshot and apply that. Oh, maybe. I do want to not over-rely on lookup textures, though, because I used to do that a lot, and it kind of ruins it. I want to make it look good without lookup textures first. Because what I was showing earlier with a lot of my old YouTube thumbnails, a lot of them used lookup textures. But you have to, I think it's possible to make the colors good without lookup textures. And then it's like an added zest that you add after. That's how I want to treat lookup textures. But I think it is definitely a bit too bright for the moment. But I want to try out some, I want to more deliberately pick other ones. Kind of like, if we go back to that MMD texture for a moment. For some reason, none of my function keys are working. Oh, there we go. Where was it? Well, so you've got Half-Life, and that's very green. And then you've got, what was the other one I had open? Then you've got the MMD, which is very blue. And it's a little too blue. Like this, it's cool. This outside bit in particular, but it looks a little too blue. And I want something kind of in the middle. So what I do like, though, in this level is that it has this corridor bit on the outside that is less saturated than the interior. Like, this interior is very dark, but the exterior is very light. And this kind of, it looks like a bluish purple with a bit of green in there. You can kind of see it. So that's the sort of palette I want to try out next with... And this is sort of leads into the next little thing I wanted to get into, is knowing what colors to even pick is a bit tricky. The general rule I'm sticking to right now is that colors, there should be a primary color. This is just eyeballing it. I don't know if this is correct, because there are wrong ways to pick colors, and I've seen people do it the wrong way a lot. The right way, I think, goes something like 60% of the scene using a primary color, 30% using a secondary color, and 10% using an accent color. And my general qualms have been figuring out what constitutes a primary color, what constitutes a secondary color. Do shades count as different colors? Like you can see in this corridor, they've got this trim on the wall on the it's very off to the side. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it has this dark blue trim and then a light blue wall on this side corner. Do those count as two colors or one? Because it's using the same hue. These are both blue, but one of them is very dark and one's very light. Do those count as two or just one color? But then you go over to this color. This little panel here looks greener than this. This might look like the secondary color. And then they've got these sort of lighter blue green bits, like this window or this white. Maybe that's the accent color. So I'm just trying to work out, like, what is a wise color choice? Not just whatever looks cool, right? It has to be looks cool and is wise. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And my general thing I keep seeing everywhere is 60%, 30%, 10%. So with the palette I've done for this one, I thought like the 60% are these shades of green because these like this white and this dark is the same hue. It's just this sort of turquoise color. And I count that as kind of one color, really. And then the secondary is sort of this gray, and then the tertiary is this orange. So I guess those are my three colors. Because the thing is, too, is that I don't think you should need more than that. And there are so many games I see out there now that use way too many colors. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but you probably can think of examples. It's indie games in particular. Overuse colors so much, and it frustrates me a lot. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Professional illustrator. Shades are not counted as part of the main color. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Because yeah, I'm not a professional illustrator, so I don't know these things, but I'm trying to figure them out. But thank you. That's good to know. I had a feeling that would be the case, but I wasn't sure, and I was like, oh, does like a dark blue and a light blue count as two? Yeah, so that's good to know. Thank you so much. That's what it's called, the 60-30-10 rule. Oh, that's that's an actual thing? Okay, cool. Hey, maybe I accidentally might have stumbled on a rule here. Because I'm just trying to intuit it and think what feels like the right choice. I didn't know this was an actual thing. Oh, cool. So this actually is a rule. The 60-30-10 rule. It's literally just called that. Oh, sick. Awesome. Well, hey, that's good to know. 60% dominant color. Hey, there we go. I accidentally stumbled across a cool little neat rule there. Awesome. Because I was just reading through like posts and forums, and I was noticing just they were using that it felt like about that value. And I'm like, I'm noticing all of these screenshots feel like this. Maybe there's a pattern or a rule there. And that's cool. That's good to know. Yeah, like this. This is, oh man, look at that. This is a cool, yeah. Now, in contrast, as we were looking at, let's get some old feline environments open. I'm just trying to find, sorry, there's my desktop. Well, I had a video open just a while ago of like the Project Feline gameplay. And this is where that rule hasn't been applied, and you can tell. You can look at this and you can see it now, right? You guys see it now, right? You see that it's using more, there's no rule. There's no rule, and it looks bad, and you see why. Now, gamers, the average gamer, bless them, doesn't know this. They won't know it, but they kind of will. I have this rule that is a safe rule where I always assume that they will notice, but they will not know how to say it. So the thing I notice is that most people will think gamers are stupid and won't notice this thing, and they justify their bad decisions by saying, "Oh, the player's never gonna know. The player's never gonna know. Just chuck on whatever." But no, they will know. It's just they don't say anything. What they do instead is they don't buy it. That's how they know. Because they know they don't know how to say it, but the absence of criticism doesn't mean they don't know. What that comes through instead is the absence of a purchase. That's kind of where that comes from. When you do it bad, they won't buy it. They won't tell you why. that they are now a statistic that is missing from the equation because they're not even a customer at that point. That's what you lose. It isn't it just because no one is saying it's bad doesn't mean that it's good. That's what I'm trying to say. And every artist I've met has this attitude of like, oh, the player's not going to know it. And it's like, no, shut up. They will know, and they won't buy it if it's bad. They just won't tell you. Just because they're not telling you doesn't mean they don't know. And if you press them on it and show them, then they'd be able to know. But most people don't care that much anyway. But they will know. They will know. And you can kind of see with these environments, maybe you guys on stream can start to notice it now. You can start noticing where it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is a bit messy, this is a bit incoherent. The colors aren't really well chosen. Like, why is the door red? I don't know. Why is the light... cyan seems to be a dominant color. The fog and the light are the right color, but the red door is the wrong color. This brown, why is that there? I don't know. Why are the... Like, you start to see it. Every frame you start to see, it's like, wait, you're just using a lookup texture and fog to cover up the bad color. Because if you looked at this without the lighting on, it would look even worse. And I have looked at it without lighting on. It does look pretty bad. It's just the fog is trying to save it. But that's not the right... It feels like not the right attitude, where you're just covering it up with fog and obscurity to cover up your bad art. That doesn't feel right. So that's kind of what I mean. And you guys can notice it, right? You can start to see what I'm saying. Whereas by comparison, something like this, it's like, oh, coherent, beautiful, timeless even. But this is not it, man. This isn't it. That's why this only got, 86,000 views. I think if this was better, this is the difference between trailers that get 86,000 views and like 200,000 views or something. I think people might call me crazy for saying that, but I think that's the difference. And if we look up, there was some games I've seen. I don't. It's not that I'm trying to call out games directly, but you guys have probably seen what I'm talking about, where there are lots of games out there that don't think about this, and especially games that are similar to mine. I've noticed that there's like Jet Set Radio inspired games out there. And they do this thing in their environments where they add neon to everything. And it looks horrid because it's just ugly. I don't know how to explain it. But there was some game I saw where all the environments were like brown and green and like 10 colors, like purple, brown, green, whatever. And then they put these neon Tron lights of every color everywhere. And it looked bad. And it's just like, it looks like an indie game. That's what I'm trying to explain. It looks like an indie game when that's done. And this is sort of the same look here. But what I'm trying to basically do is actually properly look dev it this time to not have that problem. That's what I'm trying to describe. So I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah. The Mindwave trailer. What's that? I don't know what that is. Is this an example of what let's have a look. Color theory goes a long way. Yes, I think that's I don't know. It seems apparent to me that a lot of people that choose to make games don't notice. Like, they are all thinking about the programming and not this stuff. What's this? Mindwave. Oh yeah. This has a very distinct feel. I don't know if this is the right. Is this what it? This isn't a trailer, though, is it? This looks like something else. Tower of Power. That's not the trailer. I'm assuming you meant a different video. Not this, right? This looks like a movie. But yeah, basically, yeah, color theory. Gotta say, Edon says, gotta say you're doing a great job. Many developers struggle to escape the Unreal look. Thank you so much, man. Look, like... Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Because I know people might be looking at this and thinking, "Oh, Ray, well, you've already got some levels. Why don't you just do that?" And it's like, yeah, but they're bad. And it's like, where do you want to set the bar? And I don't know, man. I feel a strong calling to do this improvement. And I know that there is a point at which you can overdo it. And I know that there's a point where you need to stop improving and just get on with it. But I think this stage here is like the last bit that I was meaning to get to this whole time. Like, this is how I know that for me, this is going to be... This is the look dev... This is the way I need to do it. Because I'm thinking... The way I'm thinking is so different. And it feels... Everything's just coming, like, seamlessly. And it isn't getting in my way. And I don't know, this is the actual path of least resistance. And I tried to gaslight myself into thinking that other ways were the ways of least resistance, but I knew it wasn't really true. So I appreciate that you appreciate the effort I'm putting into this. And I know it doesn't look spectacular yet, but I think I just know that it's important, and I know that for the demo I want to do, I have to get this right before the demo. Because the demo, if you zoom out further into the abstract a little, because really, what is it all about? What is the point? What's the mission? The mission right now, my mission is, the Project Feline demo is to make the demo so appealing that people are sold on the game's impression. It's that word again. It's that magic word that keeps coming up. It's because that's really, what else are you gonna do with a demo? What's the point of a demo? It's to sell, it's the impression. Because you don't have the full game, because you can't afford to make the full game at that point. But you at least need something that demonstrates that you, the developer, understand the impression and that the player can get on board. That's the purpose of a demo. And that's why I think it's really important that I get this right for the demo, even if it means I've had to redo it 3 times. Because I know that it's like, now I'm at the attitude I need to be, where I'm thinking about the right things and not how high fidelity it is, which does not matter. I'm thinking about the right things now. So thank you. Because, yeah, it's really important. Like, all I care about for this demo is the impression. That's why, for me, this is important stuff and high priority. And things like bug fixes, I mean, that's still important, but at the moment, it's a bit lesser of a priority for those reasons. Because people are not even going to want to download the demo if the impression on the Steam page isn't good. And then it won't even matter if there's bugs in the demo, because they won't have even gotten to the stage of downloading it. So that's the first hurdle. You got to get over the hurdle of making them want it. And then you can start worrying about those things. So, yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into a demo, but I know, I don't know, I just have this resonant feeling deep in me that nailing the visual impression is of utmost importance for this. And I can't really explain further as to why. I just know it in my bones. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm actually, in terms of bugs, Kyle says players will find more bugs than you can as long as the game isn't broken, it's safe. Well, yeah. Now, just to keep in mind, release is still a long ways off, man. I'm not gonna lie, we're not close to that. My goal is the demo, and then maybe with a good demo, I might be able to raise money to then finish it, because that seems to be the only realistic option at this point. So it's important that the impression is good. And the demo is like the first step. And in terms of bugs, I know that the demo will have bugs. But I'm actually kind of hoping that players will find more than I can. Because I want to release it with the expectation that people know it's just a demo. Like it's not the final demo. It's just the preliminary demo of, just to get the foot in the door. I think people will understand that. And I'm hoping that they'll find issues, because that way I won't find them when I actually release it for real. You know what I mean? Because by that time, you'd want to have sorted those out. But I won't ever really know unless I do that first stage of the demo. Now, this isn't what everyone does, of course, but this is the way this is part of my plan of the next chapter in the Project Feline saga, the next anime arc. Why? Cloesta says, why is he kind of sounding like the Messiah right now? I don't know, okay, and we need to. Can we please drop this joke? I am not a heavenly messiah. I'm just some idiot that doesn't even know art fundamentals. Really. I should have already known this stuff. Honestly, like the real messiah would already know all this. They would already know this stuff. But I'm not the messiah. Otherwise, I would know it. But anyway, But yeah, so what's the time? I gotta get going. But that's the, not the Messiah. Not the Messiah. Just trying to do my best here. And try to get the impression better. So by next week, hopefully, I'll have some more palettes I've tried out. And I might even be able to have some textures going. But I've also got this video I really need to get out soon. So I'm gonna be kind of tied between those. And yeah, so I guess we'll see. I could say what I want to do, but you guys will just see next week, I guess. Thanks, Fox8. Appreciate it. But yeah, also a cool little bonus is that the textures, if I can get away with low res, the game will just run better too, which is pretty cool. That'd be pretty sick too, is that all the textures are like less than 100 kilobytes. That'd be sick. But I don't know. That might actually end up happening if it goes the way I think it will. Or not. I don't know. But I think I like 128 by 128. It's my new favorite resolution. I like it for these. And I can't wait to make more textures in 128 by 128 this week. So that's kind of all the progress in terms of... I feel like I'm forgetting something. I have this deep feeling that I'm forgetting about something, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, no, I think I've forgotten it. There was some other thing I was working on. It's something to do with programming. I can't remember what it was for the life of me. I was doing some kind of bug fix. It's not important. It's probably not that important. But I was doing other bug fixes this week as well with Gabi's health. But I can't remember the specifics. But it's not that important anyway. So anyway, guys, that'll do it for me for this session of rambling about game dev and Project Feline. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I hope anyone in chat making a game can maybe use my knowledge, I beg you, to do something cool with. But yeah, basically, final remarks on thoughts I've had about this entire procedure I've been going through that I want to address to any aspiring 3D artists before I head off. Yeah, just ignore the constant propaganda of having to do everything in 4K. You don't have to do it. I'm having way more fun in sub HD than I ever have in HD, and it's sick. I think even the Halo dev said that at one point. If you watch the Halo 3 devlog, I think they say the exact same thing, where it's like they start making everything in high res and they hated it. So I'm not crazy. It's a real thing. And if it doesn't need to be 4K, don't make it 4K. Just do it at true size, as Benjamin would call it. I think that's what I've been trying to do. Doing the texture at true size, meaning you don't downscale it later. You just do it at the actual size you're going to do it at. And I don't know, man. There's just something that it feels like the right path, and maybe some of you might as well. And this is me just being that little shining light of encouragement for anyone that is doubtful about that at all, like I was for a long time. Because I was afraid to do this for so long, of like doing things low res. Whoa, no, it's impossible. You can't do that. I was so afraid of doing it like that, and that I had to do PBR everything. But no, you don't have to. Let this stream be evidence that no, you don't have to do that. Just do what you like. Ignore the propaganda of, needing a 1080 graphics card, whatever. You don't need it. So yeah, have fun, guys. Have a good weekend. I'm gonna read more about texturing and have some fun. So I'll see you guys next week.